Chapter 1. New Beginnings. He had one last thing to do. He ran in the darkness of the night towards the building that held his target. The moon was full and was lit with a scarlet-red tint. The blood moon, fabled that many lives had been taken and much blood was spilled. It is associated with the birth of a new enemy stronger than one might expect. Tonight was no exception. The greatest prodigy since Kazama Erasure, Uchiha Itachi, ran from the place that will be considered the Uchiha Massacre. With a strong leap, he jumped 3 buildings and landed on the doorstep of the child, known as the Demon Brat. He picked the lock and opened the door in seconds flat. He walked in to find a sleeping blonde. Tonight, Uzumaki Naruto, you will be lost from this dreadful village and living on your own. Itachi picked up the boy and placed him on his shoulder. He disappeared. Yawn. Naruto sat up and stretched. He began to wonder, why is my bed so soft? Without opening his eyes, he placed his hand next to him. He patted, searching for rips or holes of any kind. This is not my bed, it feels like grass. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around. Green. Everywhere he looked, grass flooded the place. One thing was odd though, a scroll. He picked it up and read it. Naruto. You will hopefully find this scroll with you in the field of grass. I have taken you away from Konoha, since you will never grow there. This scroll contains many sealed scrolls. The basics are easy to find, but the hard ones will reveal themselves in due time. In order to see the seals containing the scrolls, you must pump chakra into it. Then it will measure your chakra abilities and reveal seals you can open. To summon the scroll, you must place chakra on the seal. From someone who does not hate nor like you. P.S. You are in the grass country. Also, if anyone else pumps chakra into the scroll, it will burn. Naruto read it over again. Now he only had one question. What's chakra? Sadly, nothing happened to the scroll like hidden messages describing chakra, as one might expect from the Uchiha genius. Naruto got up and wandered around in hope of finding something labeled Naruto's chakra here, or someone to teach him of chakra. This is not a drill, bellowed the Hokage as 8 Umbu jumped away. The Hokage had recently been informed that all but one Uchiha seemed to lay dead in the Uchiha estate. In an attempt to calm himself, he walked into the scroll room. He paled. The entire room was empty, no scroll was left. Even the hidden scroll for all the family jutsu had been taken, including all the ones the Yondaime had made for his family. Report all Umbu minus teams 17 and 21. All of the scrolls in the scroll room have been stolen. This is not a drill. Uchiha Itachi wandered around Kiri. In his pocket was a sealing scroll that had all the scrolls from the scroll room at the Hokage Tower. He gave a copy to the child named Naruto. Actually, his were a copy too. The real scrolls all had tracking jutsu on them. He burned all those just the day before, so he wouldn't be targeted either. What fools come from Konoha? He came to a beach and applied chakra to his feet and walked across the water. What fun it is to be a missing nin. Naruto walked into a small town with few people. He walked out to a random person, asked, "What's chakra, mister?" The man turned around, looked at the blonde. "Are you going to be a ninja, little one?" The man bent down to look at Naruto, who nodded. "Well, I'm not a ninja, but I can get you a scroll to learn of chakra." Naruto nodded happily and followed the man. Iruka was on his break and was busy searching for Naruto. He had heard of what happened to the Uchiha clan, not who, but what. He stopped at the blonde's house and noticed the ground. Blood, the Umbu shoe print in it. He opened the door and saw that the prints led inside. He assumed that an Umbu had taken Naruto away. He began to follow the tracks back to their origin. On the other side of the village, the Umbu teams 17 and 21 had found tracks leading away from the Uchiha estate. They followed them skillfully until they found Iruka doing the same as them, but the other way. "Yumino-san, we are tracing the tracks of the murderer of the Uchiha clan. Is there anything we should know?" Iruka paled. "I came from Naruto's place. It seems as if He was taken. The Umbu should be glad they didn't have water in their mouths, otherwise they would have knocked their masks off. Suzume, Nico, report all information gathered to the Hokage. This is a possible code red," ordered one of the few calm ones. 2 of the Umbu disappeared from view. Sigh. The only remaining Hokage left stared at the paperwork before him. He took another paper and began scribbling on it. A pair of smoke clouds appeared in the office, making the Hokage avert his attention away from the paperwork. "Have you figured out what has happened?" "Affirmative, sir. The murderer is Uchiha Itachi." The Hokage paled at the news that the sparrow-masked Umbu told him. Also, it seems as if Uchiha Itachi has kidnapped Uzumaki Naruto, finished the cat-masked Umbu, making the Hokage pale further. We also have evaluated that Uchiha Itachi was the one to steal all the scrolls in the later report. The Hokage went so white a Hyuga would be jealous. Do you have anything else to report? Negative, sir, answered the sparrow-masked Umbu. A cloud of smoke appeared in the office again, revealing an Umbu with a dog mask. We have just found out that the location of the scrolls was last at the Uchiha estate. Evidence from the tracking jutsu on the scrolls suggests they were burned. Hayashi began to cry as the Hokage paled further. The family jutsu scroll's location is unknown as of currently, since they do not have tracking jutsu. Though if they still are intact, the thief couldn't properly assess them, due to the blood seals. As he walked across the water, he began to see an island. With his super sharp ears, he detected the sound of a person's wail. He began to follow where the wail came from. He stepped on the island and walked forwarded until he saw a sign on a building that read, Bandit Headquarters. He kicked open the door, happily letting himself in. I spy with my Sharingan eye, something that starts with D. The item that started with D was actually a state of being, which happened to be death. The floor was littered with bodies. I spy with my Sharingan eye, something that starts with S and can cause death. He looked at the bodies on the ground. Yep, definitely can cause death. Itachi walked up a flight of stairs and came across the second floor. I spy with my Sharingan eye, something with ends with E and can melt. Ice was everywhere on the floors, along with its counterpart, water. Walking up one more flight of stairs, Itachi spotted a person he knew as Momochi Zabuza and a boy. Zabuza turned towards Itachi, who stared. The boy looked at Zabuza happily, then turned to see what his master looked at. The boy spotted Itachi and threw a senbon at him. Itachi dodged the weapon, but was still slightly amazed at the boy, who had obviously killed over 50 bandits. He noticed Zabuza's hand was on the sword on his back. He glanced at the boy doing hand seals. Ice senbon appeared above him and shot at him. He took a stride forward as all the senbon stabbed the ground. He yawned. Zabuza swung his sword at Itachi, who grabbed the blade with little effort. The boy threw another senbon at Itachi, who caught it. I wonder why a Hyuga has never tried using senbon with their hakushu. Itachi flung the senbon at the boy, who held another senbon. Itachi's senbon hit the boy in a pressure point on the shoulder, making his arm go numb, forcing him to drop the senbon. Zabuza aimed a kick, hoping Itachi was off guard. He wasn't. Itachi grabbed his leg and Zabuza's free arm and kicked the wrist that held the sword. Zabuza let go of his sword and was thrown across the room and slammed into the wall from Itachi's throw. Zabuza opened his eyes to see his head cleaver coming at him. Thud! The gap on the sword went around his neck, pinning him to the wall. The boy charged Itachi and aimed a kick at his ankle. Itachi jumped and landed behind him. He slammed his leg into the back of the boy, making him fall to the ground with Itachi's foot pinning him. He grabbed the boy's hands to make sure he couldn't fight back. So, why did you attack me? Asked Itachi. We were assigned to kill all the bandits here, so we attacked you. Zabuza wheezed out angrily since he got very little air to his lungs. Also, he was mad. Itachi paused. I'm not a bandit. I came here to find what made that imbecile wail. Zabuza blinked. If that is true, would you release us? No, Itachi answered. I want something in return. What? Asked the boy, slightly angry, but not as bad as Zabuza. Well, I don't know, answered Itachi again. Do either of you have suggestions? Zabuza again pondered about what was wrong with this person and suggested, maybe teach you something. Nah, that's too easy for me. You know, I have a friend I last saw at the grass country. You could train him, reasoned Itachi. Naruto walked into the library with the man. The man grabbed a scroll labeled chakra for the helpless ninja and bought it. Here, kid, there's no charge at all. Thanks, mister. Naruto ran off to the field he first found himself in. He opened the scroll and began reading about chakra. Tell me more about your friend. Zabuza had been able to wiggle the sword so he could breathe easier, but still painfully. He is 7 years old, blonde, hyperactive, and has the demon Kyubi sealed in him. He used to live in Konoha, but I snuck him out of that dreadful place. He wasn't treated well, and I've seen scars that prove it. I don't know much about him, but as an Umbu, I was assigned to protect him at times. He will not cry from sadness or pain, and he has a hard time controlling his chakra. He has a short attention span, but he means well even through the abuse. The boy looked over at his master, his face red. He's like me. Zabuza sighed. Looks like you're attached to the boy. Anything else I should know? I gave him a scroll. I call it the progress scroll, which starts with the basics of a ninja and leads on to harder techniques. In the scroll, there is all the forbidden jutsu and the jutsu of family scrolls. The family scrolls need blood from one of the clan members. You will give him pointers and teach him anything you think he needs to cover. He has much potential, but is too kind to inflict damage upon someone. You need to teach him to kill, but not to over-obsess his power. Also, since he was hated and alone most his life, he will have the tendency to brag. Make sure he doesn't do that, because that could cause trouble. I will send messages to you if I want you to do something for him. You're demanding a lot, kid, Zabuza growled. True, but you will benefit as well, Itachi persuaded. How so? Naruto figured out the basics of how to pump chakra. He grabbed the scroll and pumped chakra into it. He opened it and saw a list of new things. At the top, underneath the first message, was a pattern with the word accessible on it. From there down it read, unaccessible. He bit his thumb and smeared it on the word accessible. A scroll popped in existence. He rolled up the progress scroll and unrolled the new scroll. Congratulations, you have learned how to pump chakra from a, undoubtedly, random person. This scroll has all you need on learning more about chakra, with some basic chakra controlling exercises. Read Naruto. Naruto growled and began to learn more about chakra. He is near the age of this boy. Itachi made head gesture to the boy. Haku, Zabuza pointed out. Yes, Haku and my friend could train together and get out of your way when you want to be alone. Second, you could use him as a weapon for missions, like Haku. Third, he's good to have around. Zabuza sighed and answered, Fine, just release use, since he couldn't nod. Sai the Hokage looked at the man in the picture on the wall of the Hokages. Erasure, I'm sorry, Itachi has stolen your son and could now learn of your jutsu. I can only hope that doesn't happen. A baby's cry broke him from his thoughts. I'm coming, Konohamaru, just be quiet. The Hokage walked over to the wailing cry and gave the child some mashed carrots from a jar nearby. He came back and sat down. Now where was I? Oh yeah, I was moping about what could happen because of Itachi's betrayal. The Hokage got into his moping attitude. A secretary stuck her head in the door. Uchiha Sasuke is here to see you now, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi was brutally ripped away from his thoughts as Sasuke entered the room. Hello Sasuke, are you feeling better? Sasuke nodded at the Hokage's question. Okay, we want to know, was it Itachi who attacked your clan? Sasuke winced and nodded sadly. Okay, thank you for that, Sasuke. Do you have anything else to tell or ask? Sasuke was about to mention the special Sharingan, but decided against it. Did Onaizen cause any other trouble? The Hokage's face darkened mournfully. Yes, in fact he did. Sasuke winced. He burned all of Konoha's most precious scroll and possibly made copies. He also kidnapped Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto had finally reached the part about chakra controlling exercises. Tree walking exercise. Channel chakra to your feet and try to walk up the tree. Do this until you reach the top, then practice it with your imagination. Well, might as well try. Naruto pumped chakra to his feet and then ran at the tree. He went up 2 steps and fell down. Damn, this is harder than it looks. Itachi released Haku, who scrambled to his feet, then over to Zabuza to try and free him. Haku, to his dismay, could not pull the sword from the cement wall. Itachi grabbed the handle and pulled it from the wall as if it were a knife and butter. Zabuza sighed at not having pressure on his neck. So what is the kid's name? Zabuza rubbed his neck in pain. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto? Why him? He was dead last? Asked Sasuke fascinated. Naruto has much potential in him, as much as yours. I, in some way, have to thank Itachi for releasing Naruto from Konoha. The Hokage began his paperwork as Sasuke gave a questioning look. He wasn't treated very well in Konoha. He was very limited as to what he could do, and had a large range of things he couldn't. I just hope Naruto has enough sense not to hate Konoha because of Itachi. Sasuke nodded in understanding. Hokage-sama, if that is it, may I leave? Yes, Sasuke, you may leave. Sasuke got up and left, leaving the Hokage to his paperwork. He had forgot about moping now. Itachi walked away from the mist duo and down the stairs. Zabuza glared at his back. He had made a new enemy, but also a new friend. So, Zabuza turned to his partner Haku. What do you think about get that new kid in the group? I think it would be nice, Zabuza-sama, and from what I heard he had similar, or even worse past compared to mine, answered Haku happily and sadly. Naruto ran at the tree again and got about an eighth of the way up. I won't give in. His eyes fluttered open as he lay on the soft grass. His eyes meet a golden dawn as he got up. Well, time to train, Naruto muttered sleepily. Naruto molded chakra and ran up the tree. He got halfway to the top. Zabuza opened his eyes and was awake in an instant, the trait of any good ninja. He walked over to where he smelt a fire burning and meat cooking. What today, Haku? Rabbit, Zabuza-sama, answered Haku. Spices or no? Zabuza stabbed the sword into the ground and sat down, leaning against it. There are spices. Here, this one's done. Haku handed Zabuza the rabbit on a stick. He bit down and silently praised the food. This is good, Haku, was the only comment he gave, but it brought a smile to Haku's face nonetheless. We will be in grass in 2 days if we run. We'll stop tonight at a hotel in Waterfall after we collect our money. Got it? Haku nodded and tore a chunk of rabbit into his mouth. Sasuke woke up to remember the loneliness that is now in his life. He had chosen to live in an apartment instead of the hauntedness that is now the Uchiha estate. He got out of bed and got dressed. He didn't feel like eating, so he took off towards the academy. Sasuke was happy because he had yet to get fangirls like his brother and most Uchiha had. Not for at least another year. It was early in the morning, but he found out the bars were still open. That was odd, but he guessed the world is not normal. Ding! A drunkard walked out of a bar and toward Sasuke. Hey kid, what's with the grumpy look? Tonight is a night to celebrate. The man lifted his arms in the air drunkenly. Celebrate, huh? Celebrate about what? The massacre of my family. Sasuke punched the man in his padded stomach, wondering why the man said tonight when it's morning. He ignored the thought, blaming their stupidity on alcohol. Sasuke walked away from the drunk, cussing man. He walked into the academy where he was going to train. He heard a faint noise as he pulled out a shuriken. Crying, he wondered as he peered around a tree. There sat a weeping girl he knew as Hinata. What's wrong with her? Whatever, I have more important issues to deal with. Sasuke began practicing his throwing skills. There sat the Hokage, tired and old. He had just searched for any scroll that remained in the scroll room. He found one, which was currently in his hand. He unrolled it, for he did not remember it. Now unrolled, all was as plain as day. Hello, Hokage Baka. I, Uchiha Itachi, have massacred my entire family, save Sasuke. My reasons are unknown. I, as you should have figured out, have stolen all your scrolls and burned them. Luckily, I made copies. Sarutobi saw an arrow pointing to the side of the scroll with a picture of Itachi doing a victory pose. He continued to read. I also have taken Uzumaki Naruto from the dreadful grasp of your village. Oh, how I love the word dreadful. I have, which you probably do not know, taken the large sums of money from the Uchiha vault. That is all I have to say as of this moment. If you are ever bored, look at the rest of this scroll. The Sadame opened the scroll further to find a seal. He released the seal, making about 20 mangas and novels appear. The novels had titles like Why Itachi is So Cool, Uchiha Itachi for the Helpless Ninja, and How to Be Like Itachi 101. The best one would have to be the manga called How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. That one seemed to have 10 volumes to it. The Hokage sighed and opened the How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. The manga started when he was 4 and had amazingly good drawings of his actions. When did he get time for all this? Wondered the Hokage as he read the dictionary-sized manga. Itachi sat in a bookstore reading the famous How to Get You autobiography published in 10 Easy Steps. On the front there was a label that said, How to Get Your Autobiography Published in 4 Super Easy Ninja Steps. In row 4. Itachi had tried that one, but it seemed that the main step was to hold a kunai to publisher's throat. An employee walked up to him, pointed to the sign that read, Do not read before you buy? That is why they have plastic covers. Itachi looked at the sign and then at the shredded plastic wrapper that lay on the ground. You know, I was wondering what that was for. Itachi gave some money to the employee who stalked over to the item that Itachi called the box that holds money orderly, so it's easier to steal. He walked out of the store, book in hand, and reading. He walked a couple of blocks and put the book away as he read the sign called Publisher's Office. He walked into the manga publisher and went up to the front desk. I'd like to publish some of my manga, please. A big man looked up at him. Yeah, don't we all? Itachi's eyes widened and his hair became white and stood up, which looked horrifying with his long hair and ponytail. He left the building holding his nose, running as fast as he could, chakra and all. He jumped in a lake, and when he surfaced he was panting. Doesn't that guy ever brush his teeth? My nose still burns. And I know what burns are. I am an Uchiha. Itachi swam out of the lake and walked away, still holding his nose. Zabuza and Haku walked into a busy city where people were running around. Haku watched as his master's hand snatched a wallet out of another unexpected man's pocket. Zabuza-sama, why do you only pickpocket the males? Because Haku, he whispered as he snatched more money from a man. Women carry their money in purses, and it's hard not to get caught taking a purse. Zabuza pocketed the wallet in one of the many pockets in his baggy ninja pants. I understand, Zabuza-sama. Good, let's go get something to eat there. Zabuza led Haku into a bar. Itachi sat in a different bookstore with Jiraiya's famous novel, Ika Paradise. In truth, Itachi wasn't a pervert. He was on the front page looking at where it was published so he wouldn't have to go somewhere like before. Published at Jiraiya's publisher. Something is wrong with the world, I just don't know what. Itachi read a little further. Located in every town or village you visit. Okay, now to find it. Itachi closed the book and walked out of the store, leaving the plastic wrap for the janitor to sweep up. He took a step out the building and saw it. In big flashing lights that read Jiraiya's publisher. Brought to you by Jiraiya, Itachi sighed and walked in. There were 4 rows, one with the first volume, second, third, and fourth. He walked up to the front desk to see a woman working there. Hello, I'd like to have my manga published. The women frowned. I'm sorry, but only Jiraiya is allowed to publish books here. Itachi's eye twitched as he spun around and stalked off muttering. Something is definitely wrong with the world. Naruto's stomach growled, making him fall down from the tree. Guess I'm kinda hungry, since I didn't eat yesterday, but I have no money. Naruto sighed and began to go into the nearby town to get food. Naruto looked around in order to find food. He didn't like charity. Getting the scroll was bad enough. So he'd steal it. He walked into an alley and smelt around for where food might be. He found the smell of food and went to the door. He tried to unlock it, only to find it was already open. He walked and took some bread, some pre-cooked fish, and some carrots and walked off. As he reached for the door, he heard someone yell, "Come back, you little thief." Naruto bolted away from the store. Naruto ran and soon found that he wasn't being followed. He began munching down on the food as he made his way to the training ground. The Hokage became very fascinated with the novel, and he was only halfway through the first series. A head peeked through the door and looked at the Hokage. Oh, there you are, Hokage-sama. You have a meeting. The Hokage looked up and saw his secretary. Thank you, Yum. The Hokage stood up and set the manga down and walked past the women. Yum looked in and wandered over to the manga. How Uchiha Itachi became who he is. Yum read the manga title and then opened it. Hours later, you could find her at her desk reading that very manga. Zabuza-sama, you probably know this, but I'm not old enough to drink yet, pointed out Haku as they took a seat. Then order tea or something, suggested Zabuza as the waiter came up. May I take your order, sir? He looked at Zabuza. Yes, I'd like the Sakana to Kudai, fish special. The waiter scribbled on a notepad. And you, ma'am? The waiter gestured towards Haku. I'm actually male. I'd like any good vegetable dish, please. Could I get tea instead of sake? Answered Haku. My apologies, sir. Your food and refreshments will be here shortly. The waiter scurried off embarrassed. Zabuza grabbed a deck of cards that lay on the table and began to play poker with Haku. Barely at the start of the game, they had to put it up since the food got there. They ate and walked out. It had good food, but I was actually hoping a fight would break out, commented Zabuza. You fucking bastard. The window of the bar they were at shattered as a man got punched through it. There we go. Zabuza smiled and walked off satisfied. Naruto had finished his mid-lunch break and was back to training again, and without hunger he made it 3/4 of the way to the top. Itachi wandered around a new town in hopes of finding a good publisher. After an hour he found one that didn't make his senses go haywire, nor had the name Jiraiya. He walked nimbly up to their front desk. Hello, I'd like to publish some of my mangas and novels, please. Sure, give them to me, and I'll let the publishers look at them. Come back tomorrow to see if they'll get published, the employee responded. Good. Itachi put down a pile of the mangas and novels he wrote over the past 9.5 years of his life. The employee paled and responded, maybe you should check in a week. Itachi nodded and skipped out, happy to know he might become an author. Now out of the store, Itachi wondered what to do. What would someone else do in my position? Waste the Uchiha fortune, of course. Itachi spent the day going to rated R movies by bribing the cashiers. He's only 13 and eating at 5-star restaurants. Iruka walked towards the Hokage Tower to give him the list of new possible graduates for Konoha. Then he'd be able to teach the class with the only remaining Uchiha in Konoha who is now brooding. Oh joy. He walked into the Hokage Tower and up to the secretary's desk. Hello, I have an appointment with Hokage-sama concerning the student graduates. He's not busy at the moment. Go on in. The secretary said, not taking her eyes off the book. I wonder what she's reading. I don't need to say I wonder because that's what I'm doing. What is she reading? That doesn't sound good. I'll stick with the normal. Iruka strayed back on topic. I haven't seen anyone so interested in a novel since Kakashi and the Ika Ika Paradise. Wondered Iruka, then out loud he asked, what is it you're reading? It is called How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. The secretary's eyes never left the book as she turned the page. Never seen that book in a store before. This is the best novel I've read in all my years. We must get this published. The editor of the publishing company began running through the halls screaming about how good the How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. Is it any good? Asked Iruka. Don't you have an appointment with the Hokage or something? The secretary snarled at Iruka, who sighed and walked towards the Hokage office. Sasuke was now out of the academy and went to go train on his own. The girl named Hinata had stayed outside the entire day, but he didn't care. She had her entire family to help her while he had no one. Something inside him told him to help the girl, but since 2 days ago, his corrupt side had won him over. As he walked through the streets, he noticed the celebrating was still taking place. The smell of sake was enough for a dog to whimper and hide. No wonder Kiba did not show up. A guy bumped into him. Hey. Oh, it's the Uchiha. I'm sorry for running into you. I'm just in a good mood. This complete stranger was talking to him as if they were best friends. Odd. And why might you be celebrating? Just the other day the demon was taken away from Konoha by Itachi. He's probably dead by now. Naruto had made it to the top of the tree and was screeching happily. If only he had enough chakra to get down. He began screeching in fear. Is he talking about Naruto? Why would he be referred to as a demon? Sasuke asked, who is the demon? Sorry kid, can't tell ya. Against the rules you know. The man walked off. Yeah, he was drunk. I'll wonder why later, but for now I must train. Zabuza and Haku finally made it to the waterfall village where they were currently collecting their money. As they left, Haku had to ask, why go on missions when you pickpocket almost every man you see? More fun to fight for money. Haku, more fun indeed. Yes, let it be known that Momochi Zabuza was indeed loaded down with money, much like Itachi. If he wasn't famous for being a ninja, he'd be known as the man that has money equivalent to that of Gatos. Zabuza slipped his hands into 1 out of every 10 people he saw. Not one noticed. Kiri Ninja can do these kinds of things, since they specialize in stealth. Zabuza informed Haku, who sighed. He means well, he truly does. The two walked into a hotel and checked in. It was getting late and Itachi was finishing up his daily routine of writing and drawing what he did that day for his soon-to-be famous manga. This process only took him 10 minutes since he was a skilled ninja, writer, and artist. He felt a sneeze coming on, so he looked away from his art and sneezed. He rubbed his nose like a child and added that as one of the finishings of that chapter. He drew a little thought box and wrote, they must like my manga, in it. Naruto had finally got down and had fallen asleep. As the sky darkened, the other animals came out, such as the fox. Naruto opened his eyes and jumped up screaming, I mastered the tree walking. Oh, Naruto's stomach growled again. Man, I haven't gotten nearly enough to eat. Naruto ran over to the town and stole some more food from the place before, but more this time. Back at his training area, he sat eating his breakfast buffet. He opened the scroll and pumped chakra into it. Now all the lines said, work harder, you have not mastered it. Naruto sighed and continued eating. Itachi woke up from a nice comfy Hokage-classed hotel bed with a giant yawn. Man, I haven't been this well rested for the past 2 days. Itachi walked over to the mini fridge and pulled out some iced tea. This is the life, living it up on the road, spending nights at great hotels, writing novels. And to think I was going to go to some creepy organization or something. I wonder how my novels are doing. Down at the publisher's office, they never opened since they were all too busy making many copies of Itachi's manga. It's amazing how the life of Uchiha Itachi became so popular. Maybe it was the writing, maybe it was the drawings, or maybe, just maybe, it could be the S-class Jinjutsu placed on the books that make anyone who reads one begin to lust for it. Who knows? Itachi sneezed again as he walked down to the front desk and checked out of the hotel. Today he felt like swimming. He walked through the town towards the lake that saved his nose from permanent damage. He stripped down to his boxers and jumped in the water. He placed his hands under his head and floated on the water as if it were a bed. He suddenly felt like he was being watched. He ignored it and looked at the sky. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw scales and blue skin. A shark? Why would one be here? He looked around, and then his eyes widened as he turned completely around. He saw water rise, and something with the blueness of a shark with the gills of one shot out at him. Zabuza woke up in his Hokage class bed. He was alone since Haku had demanded not to be treated Kage class. He walked to the mini fridge and got a bottle of sake. Like Itachi, he liked the wandering of roads and the sleeping in good hotel using others' money, but he had a partner to share it with. Well, not sleeping in high-class beds, but it was the moral of the thing. He heard a knock on his door. He took a chug of sake and threw the bottle on the bed, letting the contents spill. He opened the door, revealing Haku. Zabuza-sama, we should be leaving so we can meet with that Naruto kid. You sure are the eager one. Fine, let's check out. Zabuza walked out of the room. Unlike Itachi's hotel, he was up on the 5th floor, and it had a spiral staircase. Zabuza walked over to the edge of the staircase and jumped off. Haku sighed and followed suit. To prevent damage to their kneecaps, they added chakra to their legs. Zabuza landed on the ground in front of a little old lady who nearly had a heart attack. You could have hurt yourself, young man. He's 21. You nearly gave me a heart attack. What do you have to say for yourself, you hooligan? Was his response. Haku landed on the ground, scaring the old woman worse, since he was only 10, making her either faint or have a heart attack. Thanks, Haku. It's always good to have you around. Haku smiled and nodded, not sure how he helped, but happy he did. With a powerful swing of his legs, Itachi made a mini tsunami that pushed away the shark and got him closer to land. Itachi knelt at the shore, waiting to see if the shark attacked again. Sure enough, the shark jetted out of the water and flew at him. Itachi could spy, with his Sharingan eye, that it was not a shark, just a person that looked similar to a shark. Hashigaki Kisame. Itachi ducked under the giant sword and kicked Kisame in his face, making him fly back into the water. Kisame attacked Itachi again and took a gash out of his left arm. Itachi gasped and looked into the eyes of the shark human. Gotcha! Itachi's Sharingan changed as the sky became red and black. Kisame looked worried as Itachi appeared in front of him without the gash. Why did you attack me? Kisame blinked. You were in the lake, I claimed, and I wanted a good fight. Who are you? I am Uchiha Itachi. You are in my world. What do you mean, your world? A sword thrust at Kisame, who found he was tied up. His question was answered. Some kind of torturing jinjutsu, I'm guessing. Yes, you are correct, but Kisame then found himself sitting on a blanket with baskets with food and tea, without the sword's stab. It can do much more than torture. Kisame blinked. There is something wrong with you. There is something wrong with the world. You learn this by finding a publication office called Jiraiya's Publisher. Itachi answered, pouring Kisame a cup of tea. I agree with you. Kisame took the tea gratefully. Could you make this area surrounded by the ocean with sharks? Itachi closed his eyes, and the field turned to red water with black fins of the shark sticking out of the water. Cool. Could you make it no so red, black, and white? Nope. Itachi sipped some tea happily. Kisame sighed. So, what have you been doing? Nothing much. Stealing, copying, and burning some of Konoha's most precious scrolls, killing my clan, taking a demon vessel away from the village that hates him, fighting Zabuza and his apprentice, making a deal with them, trying to get my novels and mangas published, living the life of luxury, and fighting you. Yeah, nothing major. Itachi took a sip of tea after he nodded. Yeah, nothing much. So Zabuza, you say? Zabuza and Haku walked up to the front desk. So this is on Hikuyo's and Tamamo's accounts, correct? Zabuza nodded and handed the owner the papers of the previously mentioned people with the pictures ninjally altered. Haku sighed and waited for the girl to give them back the papers. Here you go, sirs. Zabuza took the papers and walked out. Once they walked out, Zabuza tore the paper up and let it fly in the wind. Yes, I met Zabuza. His apprentice was called Haku, answered Itachi. So what did you get him into doing? Asked Kisame as he ate some fish that he found in the basket. He's going to train Naruto, the demon vessel. Itachi ate some sushi that appeared in his hand. Wow, and he agreed. Yep, Naruto is a good weapon. You should meet him sometime. Itachi began to eat some bread. You know, I like your personality, which is a rare thing. Kisame took another bite of fish. So what do you do for fun? Naruto was climbing up and down trees, on the underside of their branches as he tried to get good enough to progress on the scroll. He decided to practice today and try to advance tomorrow. Suddenly his stomach growled again. He made his way to his favorite restaurant. He opened the back door to steal some more food. He had a handful of grapes and some bread when a chef came in. Thief, you are the reason your restaurant has been degraded to a lowly 4-star. The chef grabbed a knife and threw it at Naruto. Okay, Haku, we reached the grass country, so now we search for something. That Naruto brat. Zabuza looked around in hopes of seeing a sign that says, Naruto is here. He found none. Zabuza-sama, I think it would be wise to get something to eat, suggested Haku. All right. Zabuza turned and walked into the closest restaurant. Itachi grabbed a kick from Kisame and threw him towards the nearby cliff. Kisame flipped and landed on the side of the cliff. He shot at Itachi, who dodged the strong sword swing. Itachi flipped around and kicked Kisame's ribs. Kisame managed to block to prevent his ribs being broken, but was knocked off a very steep cliff again. Kisame landed in water with a loud splash. Itachi dove into the pool like a knife through wood. Pretty well, but not the best. Itachi slammed Kisame with his strength and the strength of gravity working together. Kisame went deeper into the water as Itachi added chakra to his legs. With a strong swing of his legs, Itachi made a powerful water pulse towards Kisame. Kisame put his sword in front of him. Sad for him, it was pure water movement, not chakra, so he plunged deeper into the water. At times like this, he wished he had real gills. Much like Itachi, Kisame swung his legs to make him go at tremendous speeds. Itachi stood on the water looking down into the water. He didn't care if he drowned Kisame, because he wouldn't actually die. Itachi blinked and saw a blue blob coming at him. He tried to dodge, but Kisame was too quick. Itachi was hit in the chin with a powerful punch, sending him high into the air. He flipped and landed on a bulge on the cliff. From below, he heard the cry of, "You're cheating." Itachi slammed his foot into the rock, making it creak and fall. Kisame jumped to the edge of the cliff with chakra to stick. He began to run as he kicked and punched away falling rocks. Zabuza stopped at the entrance of the restaurant. Haku appeared by his side and looked at the ceiling with Zabuza. The ceiling was littered with kitchen knives that seemed to have been thrown by an angry chef. Also, a child was running around in circles screaming, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just hungry and have no money. I'm sorry." Inside of Zabuza's head, a mini Zabuza with glasses and the gray suit like a politician held a notepad. Hyperactive, check. Blonde, check. Around 7, check. Means well, check. The mini Zabuza checked off the list of the person he was supposed to find and teach. I think it's him, Zabuza-dano. Zabuza took one last look at the blonde. Yo, you Naruto? Naruto stopped running as a knife stabbed at his feet. Yeah. Zabuza looked at the raging chef. How much money does he owe you? 2,000 yen, muttered the chef. I'll pay for him. Zabuza gave the chef 3,000 yen. The chef turned around pocketing the money and walked into the kitchen. Zabuza was now counting the money in his hand. Yep, 3,000. All accounted for. Zabuza turned around and said, "Come on, brat, you're coming with us." Begin Chapter 2, Groupings. Why? Naruto released the chakra and fell to the ground, flipping so he wouldn't land on his head. Because, brat, we were assigned to buy your friend. Zabuza continued to walk off. Naruto followed, still in wonder. Who's my friend? Naruto walked behind Zabuza, next to Haku. The friend who took you away from Konoha, answered Zabuza. Who's that? Asked Naruto with genuine curiosity and ignorance. By now Zabuza understood what was going on. So that kid didn't tell this brat everything, probably nothing at all. Zabuza remembered Itachi saying something to him. Okay, brat, do you have a scroll of some kind? Like a progress scroll? Naruto pulled scroll from his pocket. Like this, someone gave it to me, but I don't know who. I've only released the first seal so far. Zabuza took the scroll from Naruto and read it. Yeah, you're the right brat. The person who gave you that scroll told us to train you, give you pointers and stuff like that. Okay, where are you taking me? And who are you? Naruto asked, taking the scroll from Zabuza. My name is Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist. My apprentice's name is Haku. Zabuza smiled and finished. I'm taking you to a friend. Itachi released the Tsukiyomi after his 3 days in 1 second spar with Kisame. He began to feel the pain in his shoulder where Kisame took a chunk out of him. He placed his hand over the wound and did a minor healing jutsu. Don't bother troubling with it, stated Kisame. What do you mean? Asked Itachi. The wound stayed the same. Why isn't it healing? What have you done to me? Quiet, Itachi. My sword is famous for its chakra-absorbing ability, but a less-known feature is that if it tears anything, the wound can't heal with normal Majutsu. Kisame informed Itachi as he tried to hold back his laughter of Itachi's panicking. What do you mean it can heal? I'm going to bleed to death, bastard. Itachi was constantly trying to heal his wound. No, either you wait for it to heal normally, or you use cell reproduction in the area. Kisame pointed out. Damn, without the T, you feel less intelligent. But I don't know anything like that. I'm going to bleed to death. Itachi was doing everything he could to prevent himself from dying, except to place something over the wound. At the very moment Itachi was franticizing, my own word, which involves the word frantic, over his wounded shoulder, Sasuke was admiring his newly healed shoulder. Now that my shoulder is healed, I can move easier. He frowned. Damn, I'm weak. Itachi wouldn't fantasize over any wound. I'm going to die? I don't want to die. What do I do? Itachi flailed around oddly. Get some cloth and tie it over the tear maybe, suggests Kisame. Itachi blinked. Oh. Itachi ripped off a piece of his shirt and tied it over the wound. Thanks. Sai, you do know that is why you wear that white bandage around your thigh, right? Asked Kisame. Itachi looked down at the white wrap around his thigh. Oh, I thought that was for fashion. Sai, no. Man, I'll never catch up to Itachi this way. Sasuke wished he had a mirror so he could glare at himself. Damn it, I don't have time to get depressed. I need to train. Sasuke ran towards where the Uchiha clan was located. Once he got to the estate, he went straight to the Uchiha clan library to get scrolls to train. If I work hard enough, I could kill Itachi by the first Thursday of April, in another 10 years. He opened the Uchiha library doors to reveal massive amounts of scrolls. Fire Jutsu, Fire Jutsu. Fire Jutsu for beginners. Sasuke unrolled the scroll and read, Hello Sasuke-chan. This is your brother writing. You will now be informed that I have taken all the Uchiha clan jutsu with me. If you could do Konoha a favor, Sasuke-chan, and tell the Hokage to get the clans of Konoha so he can tell them to check their libraries and vaults. They might get a surprise. P.S. Ask the Hokage to get you how Uchiha Itachi became who he is, Volume 14, in order to find out more about the location of 66% of all the scroll locations. Coming to you in the near future at bookstores near you. Sasuke growled and went to inform the Hokage of what the scroll said. Nara Shikaku stared at his son. Shikamaru, it is time I give you the Nara clan's pass it down to your children's scroll, since you are my son. This scroll holds all of our most prized jutsu that your grandparents made for us. Shikaku gestured to the big scroll on the coffee table. Shikamaru walked over and opened the scroll. See how well written it is? Is the first jutsu supposed to be the beautiful rainbow technique? Asked Shikamaru. In an instant, Shikaku was next to his son reading the scroll. Is that even a technique? Shikaku did the hand seals for the beautiful rainbow technique. Beautiful rainbow. Nothing happened. I knew there was no such technique. Come out here, Shikaku, Shikamaru, came the voice of the woman of the house from the garden. The two males walked out into the garden. The woman continued, Isn't that the most beautiful rainbow you've ever seen? Shikaku stared dumbly. Sarutobi had finally finished his paperwork and had gotten the How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is from his secretary, who was on the second novel. The door opened, revealing one of the only Uchiha left in the world. Hello, Sasuke, what is it? I want you to read this letter I got from Itachi. Sasuke handed the Hokage the scroll, which the Hokage read quickly. The Hokage's eyes widened as he pressed a button on a communicator. Important news. Yes, Hokage-sama. A voice crackled in the communicator. I have been informed that Itachi is going to publish his manga, How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. Also, he'll be publishing this year's issue soon. Wahoo! The voice crackled in the headset and was also heard from downstairs. Inform the Konoha Times immediately. Oh, and if you find the time, can you arrange a meeting with all the clan members with family jutsu, please? Yes, sir. The headset crackled and died. Sasuke blinked. He was not expecting this outcome. Down at the publication office, Flying Foot Ninja were as busy as they could be as numerous copies of How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is were being shipped across the country as fast as they could. Villages between 0 to 200 kilometers away had already got it in stock. Places like Konoha would get them in 1 day. Sand and Stone would get them in 2 days. The soon-to-be famous author sighed in relief as less blood was spilling out of his shoulder. Itachi spotted a green blur coming his way. He stuck out his foot, making the blur trip and fall. Itachi looked down and responded. And what might make a Flying Foot Ninja move so quickly, besides the normal? I am sorry, sir, but I need to get the new hit manga, How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is, to Konoha as quick as possible. The Flying Foot Ninja got to his feet. Oh, say hi to the Hokage for me. Itachi yelled at the running blur. Aren't those Flying Foot Ninja so much fun? I still think you got problems. Yeah, well, let's go to the publication office. Kisame sighed and followed the happy Itachi. So who is your friend Zabuza-sensei? Asked Naruto. Zabuza-sensei, I like the sound of that, chirped Zabuza. Haku, he barked out this time. Yes, Zabuza-sama, responded Haku. From now on you refer to me as Zabuza-sensei. Zabuza smiled at the sound of the name Itachi. Yes, Zabuza-sensei, stated Haku, messing up at first. He became saddened because Naruto had so easily found something Zabuza liked. Good. Now the friend that we're going to will give us shelter and a good place to train. He lives off the coast of Wave Country. Zabuza answered Naruto's almost forgotten question as he stole another wallet. Now open that scroll of yours and do whatever you're supposed to do. Hi, sensei. Naruto opened the scroll and pumped chakra. 2 of the lines read, accessible. Naruto smeared his blood from a cut where a knife nicked him on the word. A scroll popped into existence. Naruto rolled up the scroll and unrolled the new one. It read, you have now mastered the art of walking on walls and ceilings. Below is a list of other chakra controlling exercises. I suggest doing them in an orderly fashion of first to last. Water walking. You walk on the water by adding chakra to your feet. Waterfall walking. Same basic principle as tree climbing and water walking. Snow walking. Walk on snow without leaving trace. Good for stealth as well. Thin ice walking. Walk on very thin with chakra and make sure you do not crack it or slip. So what does it tell you? Zabuza asked. Chakra controlling exercises again. Water, waterfall, snow, and thin ice walking. Answered Naruto, sad that he isn't going to learn any jutsu. He's focusing on chakra controlling exercises now. I'll bet after this is basic taijutsu. Yeah, I guess. Itachi knocked at the door of the publication office that seemed to be closed. An employee came to the door. Sorry, we're closed, came the muffled voice. Yes, I can see that. I came in regards to my manga, How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. I've heard you're getting it published. The employee's eyes widened as she scurried away. Should I break the door down? Kisame's hand danced on the hilt of his sword. Itachi held his hand up as a sign for no. Oh my god! Someone's screech met the ears of Itachi and Kisame. Is Itachi really at the door? Let him in quickly. A pause. Itachi stepped back as the door swung open, hitting Kisame in the face. Come in, Itachi. You're an honored guest. Yes, but could you please allow my friend to pick himself off the ground and come in also? Itachi asked as Kisame grumbled and got up. Most certainly, Itachi-sama. Itachi raised an eyebrow and smiled. Good, come on, Kisame. Itachi stalked proudly into the office with Kisame following. They both were taken by surprise at the amount of fly-foot ninjas running in and out of the place. Multiple balloons rose from the ground and popped into confetti. A kunai embedded itself into the ceiling. Attached to it was a sign that read, Uchiha Itachi is the greatest. Better than Jiraiya. Itachi's ego was just boosted tenfold. Thank you for your praise. I'm flattered. But all I came in here for is to see if my mangas and novels are doing well. The party stopped. You write mangas and novels? The entire crowd shouted. Itachi blinked. Yes, I gave them to you with my manga, How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. The crowd stared at the man that first read his work. He shrugged and said, I'll look at those later, but first, party. The party started again as some of Itachi's new fangirls jumped at him and latched on. Itachi, in self-defense, was surrounded in smoke which cleared, revealing a flying foot ninja in his place, but he only had boxers on. Ew! All the fangirls screeched. Itachi had switched places with one of the flying foot ninja to escape the rabid fangirls. Kisame appeared next to him within a run. So what now? They both ran out of the back exit, passing all the other flying foot ninja. I'm not one to make a village not get my manga, answered Itachi. So then where to? Kisame asked. Sunagakure no Sato, responded Itachi. Interesting. There the Hokage sat in a room full of clan heads ranging from the Hyuga to the Inuzuka. Interesting indeed. What is it that you've called us here for, Hokage-sama? Asked the Hyuga clan head. You've all heard of Itachi's betrayal, correct? Asked Sarutobi, ignoring Hayashi's question. Yes, but what does that have to do with us? Asked Sum, the Inuzuka head. Well, it has come to my attention that Itachi may have, should I say, tampered with some of your clan jutsu. Impossible, Hayashi said calmly. My guards were at full alert that night. He could not have possibly tampered with them. Really? Shikaka stood up. It seems as he has tampered with my family scroll, and it was in the same room as me. In what way did he tamper with it? Asked his Yamanaka friend. The jutsu are no longer the same. The first jutsu on the scroll is called the Beautiful Rainbow. Beautiful Rainbow? I don't believe it, barked Sum. Watch. Shikaku did the hand seals. Beautiful Rainbow. Everyone watched as a rainbow appeared in the Hokage office's window. See? Damn right I see. Zabuza-sensei, shouldn't we get rest? It is getting dark now, Haku pointed out. I guess you're right. We'll set up camp here, Zabuza agreed. Setting up camp consisted of sweeping away rocks and twigs from where they will sleep. Naruto opened his eyes to the smell of cooking meat. Something sure smells good. I'm cooking deer, Naruto, said Haku as he turned the meat. Spices or no? Zabuza made his way into the conversation. Spices, Zabuza-sensei. I know you don't like it plain. Haku handed Naruto and Zabuza a piece of deer. Since this is the first time Naruto's here, I wanted to get extra food. That's good. Naruto ripped off the last of the meat, because I want more. Zabuza and Haku stared at the happy Naruto in shock. How the hell did you eat it that fast? Zabuza wondered out loud as Haku set up some more deer, wondering the same thing. Naruto came up with a good excuse. A good ninja eats food fast so they can get on to training or fighting. That's a good excuse, but not great. Haku, once Naruto gets his deer we pack up and leave. But I don't want to waste a deer's life and not use all of it, Haku frowned. A scavenger will eat it, so it won't be wasted. Now come on. Zabuza got up and started walking. Besides, we still need to train Naruto on the way. Haku sighed and gave Naruto the meat. It was gone in an instant. Naruto jumped up and ran to catch up to Zabuza. Haku got water from a nearby stream with his blood limit and smothered the fire. He then caught up with the two. Itachi stared at the village below him. Kisame stood next to him staring at the golden dawn. They had run all night, for reasons unknown, and had reached the village one day ahead of what was expected. They jumped down from the cliff they stood on, into the village below. The stores were just opening as Itachi lifted the bag of mangas further up his shoulder. There are only 3 places assigned to receive the mangas. You scout out one, I'll find the other 2. Itachi handed Kisame 1/3 of the mangas and took off. What is wrong with him? Questioned Kisame as he walked into the building closest to him named Sunagakure's bookstore. Itachi quickly found the library at which he was to drop off some of the mangas. Next, Kazekage Tower Library. Easy enough to find. Itachi ran toward the tallest building in Sunagakure. Itachi entered the tower and walked up to Secretary's desk. Hello, I'm here to drop off the new manga. How Uchiha Itachi became how he is. Yes, just set them on the desk, and I'll bring it by. Thank you. Itachi placed the remaining mangas on the desk. He left the secretary to his business. Gaara sat reading in the Hokage Tower Library. He did this often during the nights, days as well. Hell, he only left to eat, drink, or go to the restroom. The library was connected to the waiting room, so there was no door. The sand around him twitched as someone entered the room. Hello Gaara-sama, I just, Leave them on the table. I'll sort them out. He set them on the table and scurried away. Yes, Gaara was a bookworm, a sad bookworm that had a tendency to kill people, on accident and intentionally, but a bookworm no less. Gaara closed the book he was reading and walked over to the mangas. How Uchiha Itachi became who he is. Gaara skillful put them where they belonged and kept the first volume to read. The only reason Gaara is a bookworm is because he doesn't want to kill people, but he still does sometimes due to a chibi. Itachi wandered around the area. He reasoned, I'm here, might as well make use of it. Itachi walked to where a field of sand was located. He snuck behind a sand dune and changed into his normal attire. I should probably find a place to work on my manga. I guess the Hokage Tower Library will do. Gaara liked this manga very much. He could, in his own way, relate to the boy called Itachi. He was a prodigy and had little friends because of it. Itachi was an outcast like himself. He was feared and respected for his power and abilities. Much like him. The sand around his feet began to twitch, telling him someone was close by. A man walked into the room. Gaara knew he was a stranger, yet, somehow he knew him. He glanced at a picture in the manga, then back to the man. They held resemblance to one another. Who are you? The man looked at Gaara and pointed to himself. Me? Yes, you. Do you see anyone else here? Snarled Gaara. Well, you don't need to get angry. Anyway, my name is Uchiha Itachi. Itachi sat down across from Gaara and pulled out the material to do his manga drawing and writings. With his super ninja memory, he was able to write down everything he did in the past 36 hours. It also helps to have experience. As I thought, so is what you write true or not? So you read my book? I'm so happy, chirped Itachi, making Gaara growl. And yes, all of it is true. What? Itachi scribbled down some more pictures. I see a similarity between yours and my pasts, Gaara said, trying to choose the right words. Does it have anything to do with having Shikaku sealed in you? Asked Itachi. Gaara growled madly at Itachi. How do you know that? Relax, kitty. I don't hate you. I've met other people like you before, and one of them is my friend. Itachi was already getting to the part about running through the forest at night and Kisame tripping over a root. Gaara calmed down to know that he wasn't hated by him, or that he knew of. Has your life ever been easy? Depends. I struggled to manage almost any friendship and a hard time avoiding fangirls when I came of age. I was gifted with skill, so I learned things quickly, which made people avoid me. Much like you. Gaara nodded and began to hope. Will you take me with you when you leave here? Itachi scribbled in the last box with an overview of him and Gaara sitting at the table with Gaara asking the question and the Itachi thinking, does he hate this place that much? Do you really hate this place that much to want to leave? Gaara nodded. Itachi sighed. Well, I'll ask my friend. If he agrees, then I'll take you. Gaara smiled a true smile and continued reading. If I were Itachi, where would I be? Kisame looked at the library. Possible. The Kazekage Tower? Maybe, but he might get in trouble since he's a missing nin. Maybe I should just reveal myself. Zabuza stared, arms crossed at the blonde that was trying to walk on the small lake. He's doing good. Naruto fell into the water, but not great. My guess is that he'll get it down by tomorrow if we stop here. Haku, meanwhile, was having different thoughts. Why has Zabuza-sama ever told me his birthday? Why doesn't he ask when my birthday is? Maybe I can share these thoughts with Naruto. Speaking of Naruto, I'm amazed at how easily he mastered it. If it wasn't for me moving the water, he would have truly mastered it. Would Zabuza-sensei like him more if he was better than me? I hope not. Actually, I just want to make him happy. Wow. Naruto is staying on it. Better start flipping. Sorry, Naruto, but I will get you better. Now then, what would Zabuza want for his birthday? A new sword? No. Waxing the sword? Possibly. I have heard him comment on how his sword never got finished by making it special, but I doubt I could find anyone to add to the blade. What could I get him? Zabuza looked at Haku. He could tell he was in deep thought. I wonder what he's thinking about. Naruto is getting better. Way to damn minute. Is the water rotating under his feet? That would easily throw him off balance. Haku, you are one smart person to give him an extra challenge. Zabuza smiled. At times like this, it was good to have a partner. Sasuke sighed, wondering where Itachi found the time to do all the stuff he did. He had gone back to the Uchiha library to see if all the scrolls were copies. What he found in the scrolls was all the same words, just in different handwriting. Every single damn one. None are the same. How could he, even with the Sharingan, know he had not written in that style before? He's going to drive me insane. I must surpass him. Afgaf. Great. Now I don't have any of the Uchiha clan scrolls to learn from, so I have to get scrolls at the ninja library. Sasuke made his way to the library. He looked at the library door as his right eye twitched. He was focusing on a sign that said, "Closed, due to scroll vandalism." Sasuke peered through a window to see the sentence, "Itachi is great," everywhere with drawings of him. How the hell can one person destroy all records of all jutsu in all of Konoha? He knew a lot of people thought he was crazy, maybe insane, and some thought he had no dignity left. All of these thoughts and assumptions may be caused by the fact Kisame had a giant sign that said, "Lost partner of Uchiha Itachi. Kisame need to be found," over his head. Also, he had blue skin and gill-looking things. But he didn't care. He was bored out of his normal thought process. Why is it at age 7 children think the other sex has cooties so they avoid them? But in 6 more years they are all romancy. Then another 6 years they crave for sex. Then at age 60 they think nothing is different about the other sex. People are fools. Yes, indeed, he was bored out of his normal thought process. Kisame spotted Itachi walking towards him with a boy as his side. Itachi came in front of him. "Kisame, this is Gaara. Gaara, this is Kisame. Kisame, Gaara wants to be taken away from this village. Will you allow it?" Kisame blinked. "Sure. I see no problem with teaching him something. Besides, I look like a shark, he looks like a panda. We animal people need to stick together." Itachi and Gaara stared at Kisame oddly. "Is he really your friend?" Itachi shrugged. "Yeah, we're all outcasts here. We should stick together. Besides, he could kick your ass. Now let's go." Itachi walked off away from the village with Gaara following questioningly behind. Hayashi thought very highly of himself. He did not think it was worth his time to see if the Hyuga's scrolls had been tampered with, since the Hyuga clan was so perfect. Now he began to question it. Every other known jutsu scroll in all of Konoha has been vandalized, tampered, stolen, or burned. He walked into his office and did some hand seals. A door appeared as he finished. He opened it. He turned on the light to see all the scrolls were there. I knew the scrolls wouldn't have been tampered with. All of Konoha stared at the Hokage mount. One might wonder why. Sure, the mount was very famous, but they should have gotten used to its presence, right? Well, that may be true, but it's a little different today. On the mount was the video of Hayashi taking his daily shower humming happily. He even went so far as to dance in the film. 99% of all the girls who were unfortunate enough to witness this were either blushing madly or screaming bloody murder. The latter was more common. A beeping noise was heard on Itachi's person, making him fumble around in his pockets. "Here we go." Gaara and Kisame stared at a little beeping object. "What's that?" "Nothing much. It just tells me when Hyuga Hayashi has lost enough self-esteem to see if I tampered with his scrolls." "Oh." Hayashi was enjoying a nice hot cup tea when one of the branch family members barged in. "Hayashi-sama, you should look outside at the Hokage mount. Quickly." What could possibly be such an emergency? Hayashi activated his Byakugan and looked to the Hokage mount. His pale face paled further. "I want that film stopped immediately. And I want the man or woman who is responsible for this head on my desk." The branch member left Hayashi, who had a blush on his face. Naruto had finally mastered the water walking exercise. Now, after the tiring exercise, Naruto found himself running alongside Zabuza and Haku towards where Zabuza was taking them. "How much further, Zabuza-sensei?" he whined. "It's a 2-day run to there. Now stop your whining," growled Zabuza, getting further annoyed. "But I want to be there now." Haku had a large space inside his mind filled with patience, but after hearing Naruto say that 129 times, it starts to wear on you. Haku made a branch Naruto was about to land on covered in ice. Naruto landed on the branch and slipped, making him fall to the ground. "Quit complaining," suggested Haku as Naruto groaned. Fine. Hayashi's long shower ended and a screen showed up saying, "Brought to you by Uchiha Itachi." Everyone sighed in relief as the film ended. Another screen came up with a button that said, "Would you like to see this again?" "No," was all of Konoha's cry. A mini Itachi appeared on the screen. The mini Itachi walked over to the button. "Please, don't do it," cried Konoha. The mini Itachi snickered evilly and pressed the button, starting it all over again. "No." The Hyugas searched furiously, but they found no trace of anything that would show a film. This alone, they all figured, made Itachi an S-class criminal. Sasuke was furious. He could never beat Itachi if Itachi could hide something from over 50 clan members with the Byakugan and the rest of the village. Also, he was jutsu handicapped. How would he ever kill Itachi? He never even thought that Itachi didn't want to be killed. Kakashi was a smart person. He knew this. He was calm too. With this great combination, he had long since figured out how Itachi hid the film from everyone else. Kakashi had been very tempted to tell someone, but his love of embarrassmental torture prevented him from doing so. Now he thought otherwise. I know you know where it is, Kakashi. In the name of youth, tell me how to stop this unyouthful film. Kakashi was pinned to the side of the Hokage Tower by a man wearing a skin-tight green jumpsuit. Have you ever looked at that tree that is in front of the Hokage Mount with nothing in its way? Suggested Kakashi calmly, making the entire crowd turn towards the would-be hysterical tree. Cut down that tree. They all ran to cut down the tree. The poor tree began to collapse, making the film get screwed up. Once it hit the ground, the film resumed what it had been doing. What in the name of the Hokages does it take to stop the film? They began to search for Kakashi since they knew he knew. Meanwhile, Kakashi sat on the Hokage Mount, the one place the village wouldn't look, and the one place that someone couldn't see the film. Not that he minded male porn, but he would avoid it if he could. So now he lay on the top of his sensei's, the Yondaime, statue reading his beloved Ika Paradise. Sasuke, unlike the rest of Konoha, was still trying to find out what would Itachi do to avoid having the device being found. The tree got in the way when it was tipping, so it has to be near the tree. Sasuke searched around the tree base, and sure enough, something caught his attention. A mirror? A very well-placed one. Sasuke moved his hand in front of the mirror, making the film stop. Sasuke ignored the cheering of Konoha villagers and looked around to find the source of the film. Is that a laser on top of the Hokage Tower? Let's see. Sasuke picked up a nearby rock and threw it at the thing on top of the Hokage Tower, hitting the object. Sasuke looked at his hand where a mini film was supposed to be playing, gone. He smiled in satisfaction. Itachi scrambled around looking for the beeping object. There it is, so someone stopped the film. What film? Asked Gaara. The film that played when the Hyuga opened their scroll room door, answered Itachi. And what might that film be showing? Kisame questioned Itachi. A film with the Hyuga's head taking a shower, humming and dancing. What? Why did I choose to come with you? Gaara mumbled. Naruto was getting tired from the long run with the forced chakra controlling exercises. One of the worst things, though, was that Zabuza was making him carry around the oversized sword. Zabuza-sensei, he whined. I'm getting tired. Can we take a break? Once we get to the closest town, answered Zabuza, annoyed. Naruto perked up. And when's that? 50 kilometers, Zabuza smiled sadistically. And oh, cried Naruto. Then he slipped on a branch with ice. Now that he was thoroughly embarrassed by Uchiha Itachi, he had thought to check the scrolls too. He opened the Hyuga scroll room door and chose the Hyuga Kaiten scroll. He found that it was indeed blank. He growled, swearing bloody murder. On the side of the Hyuga mansion, a picture of Hayashi sitting on a couch with the famous Ika Paradise novel appeared. Sasuke had decided that if all the other jutsu scrolls were useless, then he'd go to a local bookstore. That decision is why he is currently reading How Uchiha Itachi Became Who He Is. The reasoning for this is that Sasuke may find a weakness in his brother's ability. Sasuke gathered all of Itachi's mangas and went over to the counter. I'd like to buy these mangas, please. On the Uchiha account, please. Most certainly, sir. The cashier scanned the mangas and put in a paper bag. Here you are, sir. Sasuke took the bag and pulled out the first volume to read. Itachi looked out towards an incoming sandstorm. It started as a brown speck on the horizon. Then it became a mile-wide storm of sand. Itachi covered his face as the storm hit. Kisame did the same. Gaara shielded himself with sand, wondering if he should help his new partners. Itachi felt the sand stop pelting him as he looked ahead. A wall of sand prevented him and Kisame from choking on the sand. See, Itachi said, I'm glad we brought him with us. Gaara resisted a growl as he was being treated as a shield. Why did I go with you? You hated Tsunagakure. We're stronger than the average person, so we can help you get out of there. But most importantly, we're the most extraordinary people you'll ever meet. Kisame and Itachi grinned merrily. Gaara sighed, whatever, and let them get pelted by the sand. Now Gaara was grinning happily. Naruto had come to the conclusion that whenever he whined, ice would appear on the branch he was about to step on. How much longer, Zabuza-sensei? He whined. Naruto looked around and saw on the branch 3 jumps away from him. Ice. Add chakra. You asked that every 10 seconds, answered Zabuza as Naruto hit the ice. The chakra stabilized him for a bit before letting him fall again. Damn it, just my luck to slip. Naruto covered up the fact he tried to run on ice. The two bought it. Come on, brat, we don't have all day. Naruto sighed and followed with the huge sword on his back. The sandstorm was starting to fade, allowing Itachi to see a short distance. Someone out there, guys. Itachi looked at a figure in the storm. Who's crazy enough to stand in a sandstorm but that psychopath? Asked Kisame, who pointed to Gaara, who glared. Don't know, let's check. Itachi activated his Sharingan and looked closer at the figure. His eyes widened. This can't be, he whispered in shock. What do you mean? Kisame began to think it was a person stronger than the both of them. He's wearing black. It's the desert heat. He must be crazy. The storm cleared, allowing all to see the figure. Gaara stared in honor and horror. Akasuna no Sasori. Sasori? How would you know that? If it was him, he would be in a puppet, wouldn't he? Itachi asked as all eyes turned to Gaara. I only wear a puppet when I plan to fight. Itachi spun around to find himself staring at a smirking Sasori. Hello, Itachi said at a loss for words. Then why are you here? Asked Kisame, glaring at Sasori. Oh, hold on. Sasori fumbled around in his cloak. Here, cough. Uchiha Itachi. Sasori looked at a scroll he pulled out. Akatsuki, a creepy organization, is giving you the chance of a lifetime to join our organization. We will provide you with food, water, creepy cloaks, and mysterious hats. The organization consists of S and U class criminals. If you do not join, we cannot do much but make you our puppet, but that is a pointless possibility since we already have enough. I'm going to put in my 2 cents now. We could also rip the Sharingan out of your eye sockets. Now then, if you have any other reasons for not joining, tell the person we recruited. Damn it, they made this just for me, and they say the person we recruited. What jackasses, they could have said. Tell Sasori. But no, they had to make me some person. They even made me say make you our puppet. See? Puppet, that's my job. See? Sasori was leaning on Itachi's shoulder, poking the scroll vigorously. I'm sorry, but with you poking the scroll, no, I can't see. Oh. Sasori stopped poking the scroll so Itachi could read it. Yes, I see now. Please continue, Itachi said. All right, where was I? Oh, here. If Itachi wishes not to join us, then Sasori will inform us, then track you down for our reply. You have been warned. I edited that part if you want to know. Yes, I know, answered Itachi. So what's your answer? Sasori asked. I would prefer not to, but if they ever need me for a village-wide embarrassment mission, they can ask me. Maybe other missions, but I want to live on the road. Itachi crossed his arms to prove his point. What do you mean? Sasori tilted his head in interest. Like messing up all the scrolls and records in a village, making them fully embarrassed, stealing scrolls, videotaping embarrassing films of important people. Stuff like that. Sasori was busy scribbling all the information down on a notepad with pages reading. Akatsuki's note, taking notepad. Got it. I'll give their reply sometime. Sasori turned around and skipped away happily. So what now? Asked Kisame, feeling left out. Do you know where Zabuza would go after picking up someone he was forced to train? Of course, that happens more often than you think, Zabuza chirped happily. Sasuke was beginning to learn to the Kitan. Hausenka no Jutsu, though he did not have any scrolls, but he had a new reference. The fireballs were small, which made him glare at his reflection in the water. He pulled out Itachi's new hit manga and looked at the seals to see what he did wrong. Yes, his new reference was in fact how Uchiha Itachi became who he is. The thing about the manga is that at the back there is a glossary explaining every jutsu he does. Yes, it is a very useful manga. Naruto was tired as he dragged the sword with him through the town. You've done good, brat, stated Zabuza. Thanks. Well, we need to get a hotel so we can rest. Zabuza walked into a hotel. Hello, we are here to check in. Yes, sir. Will this be in yen or account? Asked the man at the desk. Account. Zabuza handed the man 3 papers. Okay, if you could just wait a minute while we get this scanned, said the man as he walked off into the back room. Zabuza waited impatiently for the man to come back. Damn it, what's taking him so long? Growled Zabuza angrily. Please calm down, Zabuza-sensei, Haku sighed. It has only been 20 seconds. Whatever. The man came walking back in with the papers. Here you are, sir. Oh, and for safety reasons, we must ask you to give the sword to us until you leave. Fine, brat, give it to him, Zabuza said, making Haku wonder if he meant what he said because he hates to part with his sword. Yes, Zabuza-sensei. Naruto lifted the sword and gave it to the man. The man took it. Thank you. Sadly for him, he doesn't lift weights. The sword was too heavy for him, and he dropped it. The sword took him with it. Agag, get this thing off my arms, please. Only if you let us take the sword, Zabuza sadistically said. Do whatever, just get this thing off my arms. Zabuza bent over the counter and took the sword with a smile. Zabuza looked at the cards that came with the paper's return. Haku, you sleep in room 114, Naruto, 116, I sleep in 112. Go get some sleep now. The newly formed Jiesachi team, or Gaara, Kisame, and Itachi, was now setting up camp. Gaara was making beds of sand for all of them, as Kisame was gathering sticks, and Itachi was setting rocks around the area they'd make the fire. Kisame came back with the sticks and dumped them into the circle of rocks. Itachi used a minor katan jutsu to get it started. Gaara, could you keep the flame going and watch for enemies? We didn't sleep last night, so it would be nice to be well rested. Gaara nodded. Thanks. Sasori stared at the crackling flame before him. He was alone on this trip back to Akatsuki. In the organization, they normally go do missions in partners. But as of now, it wasn't a big organization about only 3 people. Just a while ago, there had been 4, the extra being his partner. His partner's name was Orochimaru. He didn't particularly like him, but it was better than nothing. Sasori was one of the first to join. Only the 3rd, but there had been 6 total. Anyone who saw him had thought their leader made a mistake because he looked so young. Indeed, he did look young. His appearance at first glance was 12, as well any other glance that is given to him. Because of this, he was the outcast of the group. He had one dream he wanted to fulfill, and that dream was unacceptable in the group of New Chūnin. His dream was to get a hug from someone who accepted him. See why he was an outcast? He had killed his parents and the 3rd Kazekage when he was just 10 and made them into human puppets. He is indeed an odd person. He just wished he could find someone who doesn't treat him as a tool, but as family. He had long since thought of leaving Akatsuki for these reasons. He was an outcast tool, and he hated that, but at least they kept him around, unlike his parents. He had long since decided that once he found someone who cared for him, he would leave Akatsuki. Before he was afraid of being hunted down, but now that Orochimaru left, he was no longer afraid. When he had informed the Akatsuki leader that Orochimaru had gone AWOL, he was surprised to find he, or she, just shrugged their shoulders. Begin Chapter 3, Meetings. Zabuza sat up, dark and early in the morning, hours before any normal person would wake. He threw the covers to the side and went into the bathroom to wash up. Another trait of a great ninja is that they take almost no time to get cleaned up. Zabuza walked out of the bathroom miraculously dry, but clean. He walked to the door and took the knob in his hand and flipped it open with a flick of his wrist. He walked out of the door and to the room next to his. He knocked. Haku opened the door at which someone was knocking, revealing Zabuza. Good morning, Zabuza-sensei. You're up early. Are you ready to leave? Not yet. I have some things planned. Like what, Zabuza-sensei? Hake asked, making Zabuza smile sadistically. Gaara watched the flame. He had taken along 2 of Itachi's books, but he finished those. He heard shuffling of cloth against sand. Itachi walked next to Gaara. Let me see your seal. Gaara looked up to him and glared. And why should I do that? Because I might find a way to let you sleep, answered Itachi. Gaara raised an eyebrow, but obeyed. He lifted his shirt up, revealing a small pattern on the base of his stomach. Itachi's eyes became red and focused on the seal. Gaara, if you could do me a favor and allow a chibi to control your eyes, I could probably help you. No way, you're no match for Shikaku. Gaara dropped his shirt and glared insanely at Itachi. Gaara, I know what I'm doing, trust me, Itachi frowned. Yeah, brat, if he's doing what I think he's doing, you have nothing to worry about, commented Kisame. Gaara looked worried before his eyes changed into yellow eyes with shuriken-like pupils. Sasuke had gotten up early in the morning again to train. He had yet to master the katan jutsu. He was practicing. He promised himself he'd master, or thoroughly complete, a jutsu before he moved on to the next one. It always bothered him that he was having trouble with a jutsu that his brother mastered when he was 4. Naruto opened his eyes to see the smiling face of Zabuza and the neutral face of Haku. What are you doing here? Nothing much, brat, come on. We got a ways to go before we get to the next town we rest at. Zabuza walked out the door with Haku. Naruto lifted himself up, or tried to. He had found himself stuck to the bed. Help, help. I'm stuck to the bed. Zabuza's head peeked through the doorway. It's called weights, brat. Naruto blinked and did his best to get himself up. Slowly he lifted and got out of bed sluggishly. He made his way to the lobby, which took longer than anyone would have wished. Come on, brat. Haku did better than you when he first got his weights. Naruto perked up at this. He began to move faster since he had a new challenge. Not too much, but enough. Once Itachi spotted the eyes of Ichibi, he activated his Manjikyu Sharingan and looked into the eyes. The clouds turned black, the sky turned red, and white sand appeared. Itachi stood, looking directly at the one-tailed demon Ichibi, or Shikaku. Ichibi lunged at him with a claw ready to strike. Inches away from Itachi's head, Ichibi became a very tiny version of himself, oversized tail and all. Now that you know what I can do here, let's start with some things. First, let Gaara be able to sleep. Haha, foolish human. Hey, wait. Why is my voice so squeaky? Where did my beautiful booming voice go? It went along with your size. Now, either let Gaara sleep, or there will be major changes to what happens. Never, fool. I will escape from him. I will never give in, growled the angry little raccoon demon. Fine, your choice. I'll give you the span of 72 hours to change it. In that time, I will begin the process. The field of white sand turned red as the raccoon demon fell into the water. No, I can't swim. Get me out of here. You could always change your mind. After 72 hours, Itachi came back. Even though Shikaku had still kept to his decision, Gaara's eyes became normal as he collapsed to the ground. I feel different. That is because Shikaku is not trying to gain control, Gaara. Now, I need for you to lie down and show me your shirt again. Gaara nodded. Thanks. Gaara lifted his shirt, revealing the seal again. Itachi began to do hand seals. Okay, this will hurt a little. Chakra gathered into his hand as he bit his thumb on the other hand. He smeared it onto his chakra glowing hand. He slammed his hand into Gaara's stomach, making him gasp in pain. Gaara fell limp on the ground as Itachi stood up from his crouching position. Kisame, could you please carry Gaara? We have a ways to go before we meet up with Zabuza. Fine, I'll pick up the kid. The brat is probably going to Suzume's place where he trains anyone that is new to him. She lives on the border of Kiri. Kisame bent down and picked up Gaara. Thank you, Kisame. If we run all day, do you think we will meet up with him early? Do you have a map I could look at? Itachi shuffled around in his pockets and pulled out a scroll. Thank you. If Zabuza picked up the kid in grass 2 days ago, he'll get there by tomorrow. If we run, we could get there in 2 days. 1 day after Zabuza. You know, I think it doesn't really matter when we first meet up with him. So, how about we just wander around and train the kid for a while? He needs it. Itachi jumped into the trees with Kisame behind him. That's all right. So what do we train him? Kisame pushed Gaara further up his shoulder. Chakra control, then taijutsu. After that, what we feel like he needs. So what seal did you place on him? I call it the absorption seal. It will take Ichibi's chakra, then add it to Gaara's capacity. Ichibi will die when he no longer has any chakra left, explained Itachi. So how long do you estimate that to be? A year. Naruto had found that he could not tree climb or water walk like he was able to do before the added weights, but he caught on quickly. Haku stood on the ground watching Naruto in a daze. Zabuza is training Naruto more than he trained me. I didn't get 100-pound weights at that age. I got my 50-pound weights when I was 8. Is he favoring Naruto over me? My weights are only at 200 now and have been that way for the past 6 months. Does Zabuza really care for me? Haku, remind me to increase your weights next stop. Anytime I'm training Naruto, you should work on your abilities. We'll do teamwork training when we get to my friend's place. Haku regretted ever doubting his master. Hyuga Hinata was a sad girl. Her crush had recently been taken away from Konoha by the evil Uchiha Itachi. She was scrubbing the wall of the Hyuga estate with the picture of her father on it. Next to her was a grumbling Hyuga Niji. She didn't hate Niji, he was her cousin, but Niji certainly hated her. They were both assigned to clean off the painted wall of the Hyuga estate. It was a hard job, since the paint happened to be a special formula made by Itachi, and everyone knows what that means. They had been working tirelessly from the time they woke up to now. Luckily, they were almost finished. In an attempt to finish the chore, Hyuga Niji scrubbed furiously on the painting. Finally, after hours of tedious work, they were finished as the last speck of lavender was scrubbed off. Sadly for the two, on the other side of the building a similar picture appeared, making Haishir scream. Naruto, after long back-breaking work, had finally gotten to the point of being able to jump from tree to tree. After the first 7 tries he slipped and fell or broke the branch. Now, though, he could jump a total of 3 branches and stabilize a falling branch. Zabuza, when do we get to your friend's place? Was Naruto's borderline whine. We continue to run until we reach the shore. We rest at the shore, then we go straight there. No stopping. We'll get to my friend's house at around 2 in the afternoon, answered Zabuza, slightly annoyed. Oh, okay. So, how long until we reach the shore? Sundown. Naruto was very tempted to complain, but he soon realized it would do nothing but hurt him. Okay, he sighed. Kisame felt Gaara shift positions on his back and snuggled in closer. Itachi, can't you carry the kid? Yes. Then take him. Kisame was almost begging him to do so. No thanks. I do so enjoy watching your misery. Itachi smiled at Kisame. And I do so hate you right now, growled Kisame. I know that. The two continued on in silence until Gaara began to shift again. Where am I? Gaara, you are currently in the forest on Kisame's back. Itachi smiled while Kisame growled. Oh well, what happened? You went unconscious after I hit you with the seal. You should be glad you did. Otherwise you would have screamed in absolute pain and then fallen into a semi-unconscious state. The seal I put on you will absorb Ichibi's chakra. Then, after you gain a certain amount of strength, it will give you the chakra. You will continue to have control over the sand, but your famous sand shield will be gone. The sand will be under your control completely, so you could recreate the shield, but you need to know when the enemy will strike. Ichibi will continue to bother you until about 3 days of his complete absorption. You will still have to worry about Ichibi taking control, so you cannot sleep. Once he is gone, you may sleep normally, answered Itachi with added information. Okay. Gaara fell into a blissful rest. The ninja trio stood at the bank of a river. Naruto, your task now is to walk up the river with chakra. Once you've got to the waterfall, start walking up the side of it. This should not be very hard until you reach the waterfall. Now go. Naruto jumped on the water and found it very easy to stand on. He began walking gracefully up the river. Zabuza watched Naruto and whispered to Haku, why do you think he is so good at chakra control when he has so much of it? I have a theory. Since he has the Kyuubi, who is said to be the master of chakra, sealed in him, he will get it a little faster. Also, he has great determination to succeed. I've noticed that he has begun to land on the ice I place on a branch without slipping or cracking it, answered Haku quietly. Naruto fell from the falls and landed on top of the water. He stood back up and tried again. The Hokage was having trouble. He knew he had to list Naruto as something. He just didn't know what. After many seconds of flipping back ideas, he had figured the MIA, or missing in action, would suit it. Then again, he wasn't fighting, and he was stolen, not missing. SIR, or stolen in rest, is what he had decided on. He nodded in satisfactory as he made a new list for SIR. Naruto was the only one under it, and it will probably stay that way. In years to come, people will wonder why the Hokage would call a child of 7, sir. Itachi jumped from tree to tree humming a happy tone. Actually, he skipped from tree to tree, which could only be described as amazing. Kisame, on the other hand, practically stumbled from branch to branch. Sad and annoyed, he had to carry the sleeping child. One must sacrifice their desires to fill another's. Sadly for Kisame, he didn't want Itachi to be happy. He was forced. They definitely were an odd pair. Naruto panted at the top of the river. He crouched with the ball of his foot on the water and the other leg knelt. He had finally made it up the waterfall. Down below him, he heard Zabuza yell, "Come on, brat. We need to get moving." He sighed and jumped down from the waterfall and landed on the river below. "I'm coming." He still noticed the waves slowed him down. Sasori stood at a rock in river country. He had been running at his fastest pace to get here as soon as he did. His ring glowed, and the rock moved, revealing a cave. He walked in as the cave closed behind him. Torches flickered to life, adding a spooky touch to the already spooky area. He came to the end of the cave, where his ring glowed again. He walked right into the wall and disappeared. On the other side of the cave, Sasori walked out of a red wall and into a hallway. He continued to walk through the hallways until he stopped at a wall. He lifted his hand into the wall and twisted it. He walked into the red wall and disappeared. Yes, very spooky. Sasori entered into a room where a shadow of a person graced the floor. "Leader, I have come with Uchiha Itachi's reply. He said he would do some missions for us, but he still wishes to wander. He mostly suggested embarrassment missions like destroying a village's records. Find him and tell him I have agreed to his terms." The leader's voice is called out. Damn it, I'll never learn of leader's identity. I only see his shadow with spiky hair. He even talks with different voices, so his speech can't be traced. Damn, I hate that. I so wish I could do that. People would be like, "Dude, you're so cool and mysterious. Can I hug you?" And I would be like, "I only hug people who know me. I am too cool for you." They would be like, "You're so cool. I wish I were that cool." I would be like, "Huh, you could never be like me. Get out of my sight before I make you my puppet." "Yes, Leader Sama," they would respond. The leader chuckled his spooky, multi-voiced chuckle, making Sasori remember where he was. "Sasori, are you fantasizing about being like me and your silly hugs again?" No. Sasori tried to scurry away, but when he ran into the spot he came out of, he collapsed. "Maybe you should open the door," suggested the leader. "I'm sorry." Sasori opened the invisible door and left the leader. "When will they realize I'm not evil and will not kill them if they do wrong? What can I do that doesn't reveal my identity but makes them think I am good?" The leader's shadow moved, making it seem as if he was rubbing his chin. Pondering is for ponderers who like to ponder pointless ponderings. Sasori walked past the one person he knew he could trust in the group. He was the one who first told him of Akatsuki. Sasori knew little about him, but he did know that he was called Kimyu by the leader. Sasori also had the suspicion that Kimyu knew the identity of the leader. "Hello, Kimyu," greeted Sasori. "Good afternoon, Sasori," he responded. That was all of their confrontation as they walked their separate ways. They were getting close to the ocean as the sun began to sink in the horizon. Naruto felt the sand grace his sandals as he set foot on the beach. "Can we rest now, Zabuza-sensei?" "Yes, you may rest, Naruto," answered Zabuza, making Naruto collapse into the sand. "Haku, we should get our rest too." Itachi jumped down from a tree and landed in a clear area. "Kisame, we will rest here." Kisame set Gaara down and laid down also. Soon the group was resting peacefully as Sasori ran through the night. Naruto opened his eyes, staring out at the ocean. He slept near. A few feet over, Haku was cooking fish over a beautifully dancing fire. Zabuza was waxing his sword and sharpening it with chakra. Water beat against Naruto's legs as he stood on the water looking out at the ocean. He was calm, which was unusual for him. "Naruto, come get your fish. You'll need the extra energy," called out Haku. Naruto silently walked over to the fire and sat down, still staring at the ocean. He took the cooked fish and began eating it slowly. "What's wrong, brat?" asked Zabuza as he bit through a chunk of the fish. "I don't know. I just don't feel hyper today." Naruto finished the fish slowly, yet quickly at the same time. "I'm going to see if my control is enough to open the next seal." Naruto pulled out the scroll and opened it. He pumped chakra into it, making 2 new ones accessible. Naruto bit his thumb and smeared it on the lower one. A scroll appeared as Naruto closed the other ones. Naruto opened the new scroll. His enthusiasm rejuvenated slightly. He read out loud, "Naruto, you have mastered most, if not all, of the chakra-controlling exercises. I will now teach you a jutsu worthy of your status. Below the jutsu is all the ways you can use it. Kage Bunshin, the art of making solid clones. The clones are easily manipulated. They normally will disappear after one hit, but you could easily make a clone that can take multiple hits by add lots of chakra and only making one clone. They are very good as sparring partners, spies, trackers. Everything a Kage Bunshin learns is stored into you subconscious. Later on, once you've mastered the jutsu, you will learn to access this information so you can wield a Kage Bunshin to its fullest. This jutsu requires a lot of chakra, which you have, but is very useful. There is no limit as to how far a Kage Bunshin can leave you. Master this as quick as possible." He's teaching you Kage Bunshin. He's crazy, bellowed Zabuza in shock. Well, might as well try it. Naruto placed his hands in a cross-shaped seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A poof of smoke appeared to the right of him. I can't believe you did it, yelled Zabuza, making Haku turn from his gaze on the ocean. What did he do, Zabuza-sensei? Asked Haku. He made a Kage Bunshin on his first try. Why are you surprised? He has the largest chakra capacity I've seen in a child and has pretty good control over it. It is to be expected, reasoned Haku. Well, I guess you're right. So what are you doing with the ice, Haku? I'm making a path for Naruto to follow. He will need good control and agility to not fall into the water. Haku stared back at the water as it cracked and froze. Haku can make ice. So that's why I saw ice on those branches, both Narutos asked loudly. Both Haku and Zabuza stared at Naruto dumbly. The Hokage was busy doing paperwork at the dreadful hours of the morning. He picked up a letter that was signed by Suna's Kazekage. He read, Dear Sarutobi, I will inform you that my son Gaara has suddenly left the village of Suno willingly with your Chūnin Itachi. Because of this, I need one more person in his place to become a ninja here in Suna. If you have a spare that is willing, I would gladly appreciate him or her. The Hokage reread the letter and had his own thoughts. Itachi took him. That's interesting. Could he be trying to gather demon vessels together? Well, do I even have anyone to spare as of now? Someone quickly came to his mind as he scribbled down a return letter. Itachi's eyes opened as he heard a crackling fire. He assumed the person awake to be Gaara. He looked around. Yes, Gaara was awake, but he didn't seem to be controlling the fire. Sasori, have you got the reply? Yes, I do. The leader says he will accept your terms. Sasori passed Itachi a fire-cooked sandwich. Itachi promptly ate it. This is good, Sasori. Where did you learn to cook? Itachi munched down on the sandwich in delight. Yo, Kisame, wake up. We got sandwiches. Itachi's question forgotten. Kisame sat up and rubbed his eyes. I want a sandwich. Sasori handed Kisame a sandwich. Who cooked this? Sasori did, Kisame, answered Itachi. Sasori is back? That was fast. What did you put in the sandwich? I used cow meat grilled over a dull fire with baked lettuce and tomatoes, answered Sasori as he doused the fire. Oh, Itachi, I have a mission for you. Oh, and what is that? Asked Itachi. The Hokage stared at the village's only remaining Uchiha. Sasuke, I have received a letter from the Kazekage in Suna. He asks if I could spare a ninja in training around your age to become a ninja there, since one of them has gone AWOL. Would you like to be the ninja in training? Sasuke crossed his arms in thought. And what would I get out of it? Well, I'm sure they have more jutsu to learn since they haven't been vandalized like Konoha. Sasuke perked up at the news. Also, Suna has a much more strict way of being a ninja. They could easily make you stronger for a goal you might have. I'll do it. Sasuke almost began parading around the room in joy. Good, good. Now let me sign the transfer list. I'll pay you 1,000,000 yen up front to humiliate all of Suna out of their wildest dreams. Itachi smiled at the mission. Sasori, I'll do that mission for free. Sasori smiled. Good. Please do that as soon as possible. Sasori got up and left the ninja group. Okay then, to Suna, yelled Itachi, pointing a finger up into the air. Damn it, we just left the place, grumbled Kisame as Gaara sighed. Yes, Zabuza and Haku replied simultaneously. Okay, that explains a lot, both Narutos said. So we walk from here to your friend's house without the aid of a bout. Yes, now we need to be going. I wish to reach them before late afternoon. Zabuza headed towards the water with Haku following. Naruto turned to his clone. Come on, cloney. Naruto ran off towards where the broken bridge of ice was and jumped on it. Naruto and his clone jumped from sheet of ice to sheet of ice with chakra added. Naruto stepped on a very thin sheet of ice, making it crack. His clone made a giant leap and caught the real Naruto and landed on a sheet of ice. Thanks, cloney. The clone nodded, and the two jumped off again. Zabuza stared at Naruto and his clone in wonder. Naruto had begun to treat his clone as a brother. I'm glad Itachi talked me into this. Naruto learned that when his clone was low on chakra, he could give chakra to him. It was a useful skill that Naruto was glad he learned. Naruto noticed that the path of ice was beginning to get more sloppy, meaning Haku was in a hurry to add more. I'll show him that we can get past this. Naruto slowed down, allowing his clone to pass him. He began to speed up as the clone looked back with a smile. Naruto leaped towards his clone, who laced its fingers together. Naruto landed in the clone's hands, and they both used chakra to push Naruto forward. Naruto landed in the water. He added chakra to his leg and slammed it onto the water, making a large circular wave. The wave got to the clone, who stood on a piece of ice. The wave tilted the clone's head towards Naruto, who then made a giant leap and dove towards Naruto. Naruto jumped back as the clone shot into the water where he stood. Another good ninja trait. They can make up new moves on the fly. Naruto made an invisible platform of chakra and began to spin like the Hyuga Kaiten. Little did he know that at that point a lower seal of his progress scroll changed and read, "Accessible." Naruto made a whirlpool under him. As the whirlpool grew bigger, Naruto went deeper into the water. The clone stared at the whirlpool he faced. He was beginning to be sucked in by the whirlpool as he came up with an insane plan. He began swimming at the whirlpool, and when he got closer, he began to add chakra. With a mighty swing of his legs, he shot towards the whirlpool. Naruto caught images of his clone coming closer to him, so he added chakra to it, so it wouldn't disappear when it hit the whirlpool. What a sad mistake. Naruto felt his clone slam into him and brought both of them out of the pool. The two continued to fight underwater as the whirlpool began to fade. Zabuza had never seen such an odd sight before. Naruto and his clone were doing things they never knew before and made it seem as if they've known it for years. That's a ninja trait he'd easily trade for waking up without being tired. He watched as two blonde heads popped out of the water, panting heavily. Amazing what those two can do, he muttered. Itachi had decided to run the fastest he could towards Suna. Kisame could keep up, but sadly, Gaara could not. So now Itachi was running at speeds envied by Guy, with Gaara riding annoyed on his back. At the pace they were going, they would reach Suna before nightfall. Sasuke was as happy as could be. He would be leaving soon. He could learn new stuff, get rid of fangirls, and become stronger than Itachi. He was already getting ready to go. He is planning to get to Suna by morning the next day. He couldn't wait to see the new village's gates. Naruto and his clone were doing pointless tricks to pass the time as they made their way to Zabuza's friend. Naruto spotted an island on the horizon, making him more eager to get there. Naruto and his clone began to run faster to the speck on the horizon. As the speck grew closer, Naruto moved fasted. Zabuza and Haku could easily keep up with Naruto's speed since he had weights on. Naruto and his clone arrived at the shore of the little island. "Wow, incredible," they both muttered. "Isn't it though?" commented Zabuza as he walked onto the shore. The little island was filled with trees. "Come on, Brad. I need you to come and see my friend." Naruto nodded and followed Zabuza through the forest. Soon they came upon a house in the middle of the forest. Zabuza knocked on the door. The knob twisted as the door began to open. A head popped out. "Zabuza, Haku. It is good to see you. What brings you here?" "Well, Suzum, I've got a new student." "Really? Who?" asked Suzum. "His name is Naruto. He's over there." Zabuza pointed to Naruto. Suzum glared. "Kyubi," was her snarled whisper. Hinata sat at the top of the row in the corner. She was a shy girl who was never very social. She didn't have many friends since the girls were fangirls of Sasuke and the guys were too rowdy. She had decided she would become friends with only nice people like Shino, Shikamaru, or Choji. She heard her sensei tell the class, "Okay, it is time to eat lunch, kids." All the kids rushed out of the class for lunch. Hinata got up after most of the crowd had disappeared. She continued to walk as someone fell into step with her. "Hello, Shikamaru-kun," she greeted. "Hello, Hinata," Shikamaru responded. "Hinata, I just want to know if you like Naruto." "Eep," was her shocked response. Naruto was an interesting person, Shikamaru told the girl, making her less tense. "Why did you like him?" "I liked him, because he was determined and kind," stuttered Hinata. "Two good reasons. What do you think Naruto is doing now?" Shikamaru began to eat some rice in his lunch. "I think he is trying to run away." Indeed, Naruto was very tempted to run, but something stopped him. That something happened to be realization. "Kyubi? Did she call me Kyubi? I've been called Fox and Demon, so it might make sense. Then I am somehow related to Kyubi, but didn't Kyubi die? Or was I lied to? I need to figure it out." Naruto looked at the women. "Why did you call me Kyubi?" "Because you are. Don't play dumb." "She says I'm Kyubi, but I don't feel like Kyubi. If I was him, wouldn't I be evil? I cannot be him. A possible reincarnation, but not him totally." "Suzum, I need to talk to you." Zabuza walked into the house and shut the door. Naruto's senses went haywire as he did his best to listen to the conversation. He heard, "Damn it, Suzume, he's not Kyuubi. Yes, Zabuza he is. He is just a vessel." Naruto stopped listening, having all the information he needed. So the Kyuubi is sealed inside me. Sealed by my own idol. Naruto was overwhelmed by sadness and anger. He ran this time. He ran into the forest until he disappeared. "I'm sorry, Naruto has much to take in at the moment," the clone told Haku and ran after Naruto. The clone found his creator sitting at the shore staring out at the ocean. "Hello Futego, twin." "Hello Meijin, master." The clone, now referred to as Futego, stood at the side of Naruto looking at the shore. Haku walked in on the scene of two Narutos, one sitting cross-legged on the shore and the other standing slouched to the right of him. They truly looked like brothers. "Naruto." Both Narutos looked at Haku. "What do you want, Haku?" asked the sitting Naruto. "I wanted for you to know that you're not the Kyuubi, just the vessel," answered Haku. "We know that, Haku," said the one standing. "Damn it, I can't figure out which one's real." "We wish to be left alone," the one getting up responded. "We will speak with Suzume about the Kyuubi if she wants to." The slouched one stood straight. "You should go back in case Zabuza wonders where we are." Can they read each other's mind? This is amazing, but confusing. I should probably go back, just in case. Haku turned around and walked back to the house. Haku came into view as soon as he saw Zabuza and Suzume exit the building. "Haku, where did Naruto go?" "He went to the shore behind me. He's with his clone." Haku pointed behind him. "Thank you," responded Zabuza. He also said he would talk to Suzume, and I think he means only Suzume," Haku informed Zabuza. "Then I'll talk to the demon myself." Suzume stormed off towards the area Haku said Naruto was. Naruto stared at the water. He felt like being alone, with only himself with him. He heard the shifting of sand behind him. "Hello, Suzume." "Demon, why are you trying to kill those two?" "Kill? I'm not going to kill them. I am not the Kyuubi, just the vessel. I don't know how to make you trust me," was Naruto's answer. "I know when someone is lying, though I know of a way you can try to prove yourself." Suzume grinned. "And what might that be?" the other Naruto asked. Suzume did not respond. Naruto dodged a quick kunai. Suzume started throwing many weapons at Naruto and his clone. "Futego, stay out of this. You are more easily lost than I am." Naruto yelled to his clone who was about to enter the fight. Naruto felt a nick on his cheek. "It would be like you, Kyuubi, to only care for a copy of yourself." Naruto dodged a kunai. "You can do better than that, Kyuubi." Naruto ran at Suzume, dodging weapons all the while. Naruto aimed a punch at Suzume. His fist was inches away from her face when Naruto felt a kick in the stomach, making him shoot back. Naruto flipped and landed on the water, clutching his stomach. "She's strong. My stomach hurts too much right now. I can't fight her." "Brat, I'm an ex-Chūnin of Konoha. I won't be so easily defeated," boasted Suzume. "Konoha, you say? What made you leave?" You bastard. You took away my daughter." Naruto frowned. "I'm sorry that Kyuubi killed your daughter, but please, don't blame me." Suzume saw true sorrow in Naruto's eyes. She was a weapons mistress and was proud of it, but she also has the ability of observation. The scroll that has the katana sealed within cannot be wielded as the katana itself. She looked at Naruto. "I know when you are lying, but I never said I'd know in that moment. You are correct, you are not Kyuubi." She turned and walked into the forest. Naruto smiled a happy smile as he and his clone followed her. Sasuke looked at the gates of Konoha open wide. He walked out with two Jonin at his side. He was ready for a new life. Naruto closed the door behind him as he looked at the room in amazement. Weapons of all different kinds were on the walls. If you wanted a weapon, you could easily find it here. Sad to say, though, he found no weapon that looked like it would suit his style, besides the kunai and shuriken. "Naruto, welcome to my humble home. I will help Zabuza train you, but first I need you to take these papers and pump chakra into them." Naruto took the papers and pumped chakra into them. Nothing happened. "Let me have the cards back, please." Naruto handed Suzume the cards in bewilderment. "I will tell you what the cards do later on." Naruto nodded as Suzume put the cards in a box. "So what do I do now?" "I don't know, train," suggests Suzume. "Oh yeah, that reminds me." Naruto pulled his favorite scroll out of his pocket. He unrolled it and smeared blood from a recent wound onto it. A large scroll appeared. Naruto unrolled the scroll and read it. Naruto looked up from the scroll and at his clone. Futego, want to practice? Sure, Meijin. Naruto laid the scroll on the floor so he could read the instructions. Naruto took his stance on the opposite of the room from his clone. They both took the same stance as each other. Then they shot towards each other and began to attack and block. Another seal on the progress scroll became accessible as the two continued to spar. After 1.5 hours of sparring, Naruto was struggling to hold his chakra. Futego was also struggling not to lose any more so he wouldn't disappear. Luckily for the both of them, Naruto was able to add enough chakra to Futego to sustain numerous hits. They both sprawled themselves out on the floor as they waited for Naruto's chakra to return. Naruto's eye caught the image of a picture over the fireplace. The woman, Naruto recognized as Suzume, held a small child with brown eyes and a little bit of brown hair. Naruto smiled, realizing that the baby girl must have been her daughter. He sat up, Futego doing the same. They looked at Suzume, who held the cards in her hand. I have come back with the test results. What results? Asked Naruto. The cards. They were to test what element suits you. Also, what weapon and taijutsu style you are best in, answered Suzume. So what is it? Suzume looked at the first card. You seem to specialize in chakra manipulation and jutsu that you don't need a limited amount of chakra in. Odd. The other card says that you like weapons you can throw or are attached to your fingers. A taijutsu style is unknown. So QB did affect you, but only in your fighting style. Interesting. Okay, so what do we do now? Asked Futego. Well, I think you should make up your own taijutsu style with claws. Make up jutsu you could do with chakra alone. And work on those, suggested Suzume. Okay, so how do we make our nails grow and harden? Asked Naruto. Chakra maybe? Suzume walked off somewhere, leaving the two to train. Hey Meijin, do you know where Zabuza and Haku went? No, Futego, I do not. Haku was running around the island with new weights as Zabuza sat on a lawn chair, drinking lemonade. Haku stopped to pant. Sorry, Haku, but you're not allowed to stop. I'm not tired. Zabuza took a long sip of lemonade, making Haku's inner self cry. The Naruto twins made a deal. Futego would work on how to lengthen and harden their nails while Naruto made up new jutsu. Futego looked at his hands. He pumped chakra. Nothing. He pumped more. Still nothing. He sent a surge of chakra. His nails grew another centimeter, making him smile. He didn't worry. They still had 2 hours until sundown. Itachi set Gaara down as he started at the setting sun. Suna has always been the country that sees sundown first in the shinobi world. People had for many years accepted the dark as the time to sleep. Itachi took it as the time to strike. The trio of ninja had already made plans for what they would do to the village. Gaara took off into the desert to begin his job. Kisame made his way into many people's homes and rigged their water supply. Itachi took care of the scroll gathering. Yes, Suna would be very hysterical in the morning. Futego walked up to Naruto after some hours of perfecting. Meijin, I finally figured out how to lengthen our nails. I wasn't getting anywhere anyway. So what do? You need to focus chakra to the nails on your finger and send a surge to it. Watch. Futego held out his hand. His nails began to grow to about 1 centimeter in length. Cool, I want to try. Naruto held out his hand and sent a surge of chakra to it. His nails grew to the length of Futego's. Naruto pressed his nail into his thumb, and hard, too. Yes, well, we should get some rest so we can practice tomorrow, suggests Futego. True, let's sleep on the couch since we haven't gotten a room yet. Naruto jumped onto a couch. Good night, Futego. Night, Meijin. Begin Chapter 4, Training. Naruto sat up and stretched tiredly. He found one thing that was not right. Why am I on a bed? Naruto looked around and saw that he was in a room. Hey, Futego, how did we get here? Naruto began to shake his clone. What? Meijin, where are we? Asked Futego sleepily. We seem to be in a room. Do you know how we got here? Asked Naruto again. Maybe Suzume put us here, Futego answered. Possibly. Let's go find out. Naruto jumped out of bed and ran through the door. Futego followed him down the stairs. Naruto entered the main room as a wonderful smell met his nose. Do I smell? I think you do. Futego appeared at Naruto's side. Ramen, they both shouted happily. They ran into where they smelled the ramen. We want ramen. Suzume, where is the ramen? Here, Naruto, said Suzume as she handed Naruto a bowl. Hey, Where's Futego's bowl? Asked Naruto annoyed. Futego is a clone, Naruto. He doesn't need to eat, answered Suzume. Yes, I do. I'm hungry as well. I want ramen, complained Futego. Clones don't have organs, so they don't need to eat. A growl was heard in the room. Please tell me that was you, Naruto. Sorry, but that was Futego, said Naruto with noddles hanging from his mouth. What? Suzume began to do hand seals. Futego shouldn't have organs, she repeated as her hands began to glow. She slided her hands inches over Futego's body. Is something wrong, Suzume? Asked Futego to the paled women. Are you really Futego? She asked the clone. Yes, I am, answered Futego. Naruto, your clone is not normal. He seems to have internal organs, normal thought process. She gulped, and Kyuubi. Sasuke was getting closer to the village's gates. The sun was beginning to rise, lighting up the trees and sand. Two guards looked at Sasuke and the two Jonin. Halt, state your purpose. We have come to bring you a replacement academy student, answered the Jonin reading a book lazily. Okay, you may enter. The sandstone gates creaked open slowly. The group entered the area and stopped in fear. The famous Ichibi sealed within Gaara was thrashing around angrily. But that wasn't what scared them the most. It was that the collection of all of the 9-tailed demons were surrounding the village, even Kyuubi. On the cliffs near the village, Gaara, Kisame, and Itachi were rolling around laughing hysterically. Sasuke turned to see a house's window shattered with water spraying out. Obviously, it was an omen because soon all the house's windows shattered with water continuously spraying out. The sand around the area turned to mud, and soon the ground began to raise. Sasuke pulled his leg out of the mud. Sadly, his sandal was lost. Water began to spray on Ichibi, who was very near the Kazekage Tower. Ichibi began to droop down and collapsed on the Kazekage Tower. The other 8 demons, who were at the edge of the village, made a giant leap backwards and landed in the ocean that bordered the village. With all the demons impacting into the water, a giant tsunami was created. Gallons of water slammed into the sand, spraying tons of quicksand-like substance upon the hysterical village. Covered in mud, sand, and water, Sasuke became slightly annoyed. This was not what he expected to have happened when he got here. Gaara had just one last thing to do before he considered himself finished. He twisted what was left of the remaining sand. Sasuke watched as 3 giant sand figures rose in the west, south, and north. The image of Gaara in the west, the image of Kisame in the south, and the image of Itachi in the north. The sand figures bent down, grabbed some mud, and rose. They bent their arms behind them and threw the mud at the village. Kisame was laughing like he had never laughed before. Good touch, Gaara. I'm glad you're with us. The group of 3 ninja laughed, rolling on one of the walls of the village. Sasuke spit out some mud that was in his mouth to the ground. The entire village was covered in mud. Glass was shattered. Mud filled every corner of every house. Food was spoiled. The village was in ruin. All because of 3 people. What did I do to deserve this? Sasuke shouted to the sky. How can he have the Kyuubi in him? Kyuubi can't be in 2 places at once. Can he? Naruto set his bowl of ramen down on the table. I don't know. Kyuubi is very strong, but I doubt he can be in 2 places at once, answered Suzume worriedly. So how can we tell if Kyuubi can be in 2 places at once? Asked Futego, still hungry. The best way is to ask him, answered Suzume. And how do we do that? Asked the Naruto twins simultaneously. Meditation is probably the best way, Suzume told the Naruto twins. Naruto and Futego looked at each other. What's meditation? Kakashi walked through the waist-deep mud towards the Kazekage Tower. To his left was the Kamasuma, one of his few friends. To his right was Sasuke, who was neck-deep in mud. Sasuke was as angry as he could be. Kakashi wasn't particularly happy. He remembered exactly what had happened. Flashback. He was reading his favorite book, Ika Ika Paradise, ignoring the havoc around him. Suddenly, a great ball of mud went flying towards him. He never even noticed as it came closer and closer. It slammed into his wrists, shocking him and making him throw the book in the air. He jumped for his book as a ball of mud came towards it. Time slowed as he raced for the book, trying desperately to get it before it was ripped to shreds by the flying mud. A smile spread across his face as he touched the bottom of the novel. He was about to lace his fingers around it and hold it close to him when time sped up. Before he could wrap his protective hands around his book, the cannonball of mud slammed into it, making papers fly. Kakashi looked in horror as the papers floated down to the ground. Little mud balls tore holes throughout the pages. "No!" he cried as he ran as fast as he could towards the Kisame figure that was the cause of his book's destruction. Kakashi charged up his famous Chidori as he made a giant leap at the sand figure. Kakashi's sparkling hand slammed into Kisame's arm, tearing it apart. Kakashi landed on the muddy sand, breathing heavily. Sand showered him as he walked back towards his group. Flash forward. Kakashi stepped through the broken glass of the Kazekage. He led the group up to the Kazekage office. Kakashi opened the door to the office and walked in. "Hello, Kazekage-sama. We have brought Uchiha Sasuke here as a replacement for your son." "Yes, the Uchiha. It is good to see you." The Kazekage walked over to Sasuke and shook his hand. "I am sorry for the havoc that has been occurring lately. It seems as if Itachi, Kisame, and my son have vandalized our village." "Yes, so I've seen," commented Sasuke. "Yes, well, you two may leave," the Kazekage said to Kakashi and Asuma. "Oh, and I think it would be best if you don't tell anyone of what went on today." Kakashi nodded. "I understand. Itachi pranked our village also." Kakashi walked out of the door with Asuma. The Kazekage turned to Sasuke. "You will be staying here with me in the tower. Meditation is the art of clearing your consciousness. To meditate, you must be void of all surface thoughts. The perfected art of meditation will allow the subconscious to take control," explained Suzume to the two blondes. "Now become void of thought." Both blondes sat still, eyes closed, unmoving. Suzume smiled, but knew they hadn't even nearly met Kyuubi yet. Naruto began to slouch further as his head plopped onto the table. Futego did the same. Naruto opened his eyes as a drop of water hit his head. "Where am I?" he wondered. "Where am I?" Naruto heard from nowhere. "Wow, that was freaky. Why did it say what I said?" he thought. "Wow, that was freaky. Why did it say what I said? That's my voice. I must be in my mind." Naruto thought. "That's my voice. I must be in my mind." A pause. "Where am I? Is that Futego? Futego, if that's you, say something." Naruto called out mentally. "Is that Futego? Futego, if that's you, say something." Naruto waited for a reply. "Meijin, is that you?" "Yes, we need to find Kyuubi to ask him what's going on." Naruto began to run down the watery halls as his voice rang out. "Okay, I'm going to run forward. I should meet you there." "Got it." Naruto continued to run as a red glow met his vision. He stopped when he was in front of a hallway with red glowing from it. He heard the splashing of water signifying that Futego was nearby. Naruto turned to Futego, who stood next to him. "Let's go find out what is going on." "Yeah, let's." Naruto and his clone ran into the room. Naruto stared at the two-story gate before him, held together by a tiny paper with a seal on it. "Hey, is Kyuubi in there?" Naruto asked, ignoring the echo. "No, it's your long-lost brother, Chocolate," was the sarcastic reply. "Good going," Naruto barked, annoyed. "We want to know, why does Futego have organs and the seal?" "Simple, fool. At first Futego was not real, but the creation of a jutsu. You began adding your chakra to him. The added chakra was not a built-in effect of the jutsu. Chakra itself has traces of DNA. The clone had some of your DNA at first. That is the reason it has a similar appearance to you. Once you add chakra that was not part of the effect in the jutsu, it began making new organs for the clone," answered Kyuubi. "What?" asked both Narutos at the same time. "The Kage Bunshin you first preformed made the basic image of a clone. The Kage Bunshin did not have organs at first, but you began to add chakra to the clone so it wouldn't disappear. An interesting fact about chakra is that since it flows throughout your body, it picks up all of the chemical makeup in your body. When you flowed chakra to the clone, your chakra reacted to the DNA that was already stored as a result of the jutsu. The reaction was aiming to regenerate the organs or heal them, because they seemed to be missing. Since you kept the clone in the real world for long enough, and since you heal almost 100 times faster than a normal person, the regeneration process was able to remake the organs in the clone by this time. That only answers your first question," answered Kyuubi again. "Okay, I think I understand. So what is the next answer?" asked Naruto, slightly dazed. "I'll make it simple. Your yondaime knew that a normal mortal could not withstand my power. I could easily escape. He did a split seal, or a double seal. He sealed me both in you and him. The only way I could escape would be to go through both you and him. Though he died. When he died, he took half of my chakra with him. I do not have enough chakra to break the seal because of that. Kyuubi grinned at Naruto. Wait, so, you are just half of you? Asked Naruto. Futego was to the side, seemingly taking notes. No, I am whole. Behind me is a gate that would lead to the Yondame's side. That is why it is so dark. There is nothing there, answered Kyuubi. Now, that does not fully answer your question. The reason I am also connected to your clone is the combination of two reasons. The first is the split seal. Because of the seal, I can be in multiple minds, or bodies, at once. The second is connected to the one I said before. Since you added chakra that carried a mixture of yours and my DNA, it had to make the seal, or I could take control of your clone. That was another added section of the seal's contract with the death god. Understand? Sort of. I need to retell the information back to Suzume. Naruto paused. How do I get out? Just think the thought, brat. Naruto focused on leaving as his world blackened. Naruto opened his eyes to see Suzume drinking tea and Futego limp on the table. I found out what happened. Really, what? Asked Suzume. Well, I don't understand all of it. The reason he has organs is because I added chakra to him that began to regenerate the organs that weren't there. The reason for the seal is because he can, should I say, be shared through the mind and body, but still stays in one cage. The seal on my, or so I think, made the seal on him so that Kyuubi couldn't take control over him, since our chakra is mixed, summed up Naruto. That makes sense, I think. Either way, we know he is real now. We will have to tell Zabuza next time we see him, said Suzume. By the way, where is Zabuza and Haku? Zabuza took in a breath and blew on the whistle in his mouth. In front of him, Haku jumped to the ground and got back up and ran. He blew the whistle again, making Haku do the same. They were on water too. Naruto's question went unanswered as Futego sat up straight. Meijin, Kyuubi says that he will work on a way for us to communicate with our minds. He also said that's the only thing he'll do for us as of now. Okay, well, we should be working on our new taijutsu style and chakra jutsu. All right, Meijin. Sasuke looked at the Kazekage's children. They looked at him back. Hi. The girl stuck her hand out towards Sasuke. I'm Temari. Hello. Sasuke took Temari's hand in his. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke gained enough courage, though he'd call and losing pride, to stick his hand out to the cat-like boy. Hello. The cat-like boy looked at the hand queerly. His sister grew annoyed. Damn it, Kankuro, just shake his hand. Temari hit the boy in the head with a large, metal object. All right. Kankuro rubbed the back of his head. I'm Kankuro. He grabbed Sasuke's hand and let go in an instant. You should be more polite, Kankuro. He will be your new teammate soon, the Kazekage said to his son. Sasuke stared at the Kazekage. I'm going to be placed on the same team as them. They're 1 or 2 years older than me. I'm going to need to work hard to match their abilities. Sasuke, I will get you the best trainer I can find. I'm sure you'll like it here. Naruto and Futego were doing their best to make a taijutsu style of their own. So far they had little luck. They were brawlers, they made up attacks on the fly, and were very unpredictable. So now they were beginning to try making jutsu. They were having little luck. Naruto walked over to his progress seal and opened it. He smeared his blood on the lowest seal he saw. A small scroll appeared. Naruto opened the scroll and read it. Kaiten, a Hyuga clan jutsu that makes a shield around the user. Release chakra through the chakra points on the body and spin. It is a defensive jutsu that with bounce chakra-based attacks back at the opponent. Naruto paused. I will work on that. Futego, you find something else in the scroll to work on. All right, Meijin. Futego went through the scroll in search for a jutsu he could learn. He found one and released it. He read the scroll inside. Jinjutsu, Akumu Mure, Nightmare Swarm, makes the user enter their mind and live in what they fear most. Requires high level of chakra capacity and control. Kaiten, Naruto called out from across the room as he failed to make the jutsu succeed. Who could I use it on? Thought Futego out loud. Oh, I know. Futego placed his hands together. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A clone appeared in a poof of smoke. Okay, now to try it. Jinjutsu, Akumu Mure. The clone was unfazed. Futego focused on the manipulation of the chakra more. Akumu Mare. The clone held his head as if he had a headache. Damn it. Akumu Mare. The clone released his head. If you're trying a Jinjutsu, then I suggest being calmer. Futego looked to see Suzume leaning against the wall. Okay. Futego closed his eyes and concentrated on the jutsu and his target. He did the hand seals and whispered, Akumu Mare. Futego looked at his clone. The clone's eyes widened as he collapsed to the floor screaming. That reminds me. I need to teach you the art of the illusion. Not everyone will fall for the technique, because they know how to cancel it. Canceling a jinjutsu is something I will need to teach both of you. Would you please get Naruto and tell him to meet me in your room? Yes, Suzume. Futego walked over to Naruto. Hey, we need to go to your room so we can talk with Suzume. Okay, but watch. Naruto began to spin, making a thin layer of chakra surround him. See, I'm beginning to get it. Impressive. Now let's go. Futego and Naruto walked to the room they woke up in. Futego opened the door and saw Suzume sitting on the bed. Hello, you two. Naruto and Futego sat in 2 chairs in the room. I have come up with a way the two of you will become a stronger team. Naruto, I will teach you every capturing jutsu and maneuver I know. You will become the main head-to-head fighter. Suzume will be the long-range fighter. He will do the jinjutsu and ninjutsu while the enemy is busy with Naruto. Though a good combination, I will not limit you to those you will best in. But first, I need to teach you the ways of defending yourselves from the enemy's attacks. The Naruto twins absorbed the information. Okay, and what is that? Jinjutsu. You need to learn who to break that. Taijutsu. You need to learn blocks and dodges. Ninjutsu. You need to learn the weaknesses and what to do for each element. Suzume began to take on the role of a strict teacher. Kisame was still mad that someone had cut the arm off of his sand giant. Though it was pointless to do so, it was fun. Damn it. Gaara, why did you let it fall apart? Because we had to leave and it was too hard to keep up, was his answer. Quit pouting about such a little thing, Kisame, interrupted Itachi. We have a ways to go before we reach Naruto. Yeah. Always in a hurry, aren't you? Grumbled Kisame as he jumped another branch. Yes, now hurry up, Itachi said. Naruto found himself dodging multiple blocks of wood that was being thrown at him. To his right was Futego, who was doing the same. He backhanded a block of wood that was about to hit his face. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a big sword come flying at them. Duck, he yelled to his living clone. They both fell to the ground as the sword passed over them. The sword slammed into a nearby tree as a figure appeared on the hilt of the blade. Hello, I haven't seen y'all in a while, Zabuza said as he looked at the glaring Narutos. Yes, you're right, agreed Naruto. Yes, well, so how's life? Asked Zabuza innocently. Good. I found out that Futego is no longer a real clone, answered Naruto. What do you mean? He means that Futego has organs and is now a living person. So now you're stuck with 2 Narutos, answered Suzume for Naruto. I am teaching them who to dodge and block. Want to help? I'd love to. Tomorrow we'll have all 3 of the Narutos and Haku do training exercise together. Zabuza did hand seals as 10 water clones appeared from the nearby river. That's good, but I still need to teach them how to break jinjutsu and defend against ninjutsu. Naruto groaned as more pieces of wood was thrown at him and his clone. Sasuke walked through the muddy streets of Suna. He was given the day to look around and get acquainted with the village he now lived in. So far he had not seen a signal thing he was happy he see. After all, he didn't particularly like mud-covered buildings. He had found most shops closed because all the employees were too busy cleaning the shops to work. Many people littered the streets. Ninja, children, men, and women were all busily trying to clean their village so trade could commence without embarrassing the village's statues. He sighed and decided he should help too. Kakashi and Asuma had made it back to the villages quickly since Sasuke wasn't tagging along. Kakashi was currently sitting at the local ninja bar. The reason for there being a ninja bar is because of the often occurrence of an everyday man or women picking a fight with a ninja. The results were never pretty. Kakashi looked as 2 people sat at the table he was at. Hey guys, greeted Kakashi. Hey Kakashi, so how did the trip go? Asked the Chūnin female with stunning red eyes. Not much, though we got to see Suna get embarrassed. Kakashi, we're not supposed to talk about that, warned Asuma. Come on Asuma, don't you trust Kurenai? Asked Kakashi as he took a sip of sake. Come on, I want to know, begged Kurenai playfully. When we got there it seemed as if Shikaku was going on a rampage in the village. That wasn't the worst part though. The area was surrounded by the other 8-tailed beasts. Even Kyubi, said Kakashi making Kurenai gasp. We found out they were all made out of sand when water started spraying out of the houses. Then the demons jumped into the ocean that bordered the village, making a giant tsunami. Soon the area was covered in mud and quicksand. Then in the distance, 3 figures rose. One of Itachi, one of Kisame, and one of Gaara. The figures began throwing mud upon the village. I ended up destroying the Kisame, because he ruined my new Ika paradise. Kakashi, began Kurenai. Yes. You're a pervert. I know. Naruto was getting slightly annoyed. Hundreds of pieces of wood were being thrown at him, and now the ground was covered in ice. He became very happy when Suzume-sensei had told him that when he learned to break Jinjutsu, he would have to do all this while breaking Jinjutsu. He couldn't wait until tomorrow. A piece of wood hit him on the head. That was the 3rd time he got hit. Futego had gotten hit 2 times. Wait, 3 times now, we're even. Yes, they were indeed having loads of fun. The Sandame sighed as he tried to figure out what to do. He had 1 spare ninja in the academy. 28 students don't fit well in 3-man teams. The remaining had multiple choices, not all of which they could choose. First was the idea of a private teacher, but that's only if a teacher was available and willing. The second is that they will go from teacher to teacher and learn things. Third, they get assigned to a team and get left out during the Chūnin Exams. Fourth, they drop out. I guess I'll take care of it when the time comes, he decided, procrastinating. Naruto and Futego sprawled out on the floor panting. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes to do what you like. Then, we begin the training on breaking Jinjutsu. Suzume walked into the house. Futego, how do you think Kyuubi's doing with the mind-reading thing? Asked Naruto. I think that he'll get done by tomorrow, but I don't really know, answered Futego. You know, I just realized something, said Naruto. What's that, Meijin? We can't call each other how we normally call each other. We need new names so we can go places without being recognized, answered Naruto. Okay, I want to be Akumo. What will you be? Asked the newly named Akumo. I don't know, Kiru, Fade, seems good, answered the newly named Kiru. That sounds good, commented Akumo. Okay guys, called out Suzume. Your 5 minutes are up. What? Screeched Naruto. I'm calling Naruto unless in speech. Then it will be Kieru most often. I'm calling Naruto's clone Akumu from now until otherwise mentioned. You said we had 10 minutes, continued Akumu. And it has been only 2 minutes, finished Naruto. So, we will begin training to matter how long it has been, shrugged Suzume. The seal that breaks Jinjutsu is this. Suzume laced all but her index fingers together and pressed her index fingers together. Futego, use your Jinjutsu. It's Akumu now, said Akumu as he began to do hand seals. Akumu Mure. Suzume watched as her world began to swirl and blacken. She began to see again, but she rather not. She was in Konoha. About 10 meters in front of her was her baby girl. The Kyuubi's getting close. Stop him before he reaches the village. She heard many ninjas cry to stop the beast. Her child began to crawl towards the Kyuubi. She heard a loud crack as a nearby tree fell down. She ran towards her child, who was going to be crushed. She stopped when the tree hit the ground. A pool of blood slipped from under the tree. She screamed, "This isn't real. It's just a Jinjutsu." Her arms fumbled, trying to place her hands in the proper seal. Kai. The chaotic world she had witnessed began to swirl as she was greeted with 2 concerned faces. She breathed heavily. That's how you break the Jinjutsu, she exhaled. Her breathing began to mellow. You okay, Suzume-sensei? Asked the guilty Akumu. I'm okay. She breathing slowed to just above normal. That technique will affect people differently. Some won't be phased. Others might drop to the ground unconscious. Okay, but we didn't see you do any seals, Naruto said. Really? Well, I need a technique that doesn't place me in my mind. She began to tap her chin in thought. For example, she placed her hands in the seal. Kai. A tree near them began to fade. The tree disappeared, revealing Zabuza. Well, I'll be damned, grumbled Zabuza in an attempt to be mad. That, my students, is the way you break the Jinjutsu, stated Suzume, taking the role of teacher. Now, I will put you in a mission position. In this mission, you will have to learn how to cancel Jinjutsu, now when something is Jinjutsu, and distinguish real from fake. I'll give you an hour to do as you wish. Suzume held her hand up. Meet here after the hour is up. Suzume and Zabuza disappeared from view. Naruto looked at his brotherly clone. If we want to truly succeed the mission, we must learn every part of the island. I'll search north side, you search south. Akumu nodded as they jumped off. With over 100 people helping to clean up the village, it should be clean by the end of the day. That would be true if 99% of them hadn't left due to the blazing heat. Sasuke peeled off some mud attached to his skin as he did his best to help his village. He grabbed a buck past him. He began to walk to where most of the workers seemed to be. He dumped the contents of the bucket into a giant hole. It was a dirty job, but it needed to be done. He had come to this village to become the best he could be. He wasn't about to disgrace his village by not helping. He ran back to the village and got another bucket. This process repeated itself. Shikamaru stared at the board very well bored. His teacher, Irika, was teaching them the basics of jutsu, like he hadn't even learned it yet. In an effort to annoy the teacher, he yawned. The yawn was interrupted by a chalky taste in his mouth. Shikamaru-san, if you think you know how to do jutsu properly, then why don't you come up here and show the class? Troublesome, me thought with a mutter. He stood at the front of the class and was prepared to do his clan-famous technique, Kage Main no Jutsu, when an idea hit him. He did a quick 5 hand seals. Nothing happened. Shikamaru-san, if you can't perform a jutsu, then please sit down. Shikamaru followed orders. As I was saying, hey, what's that? Irika stared at a small, black cloud above him. He began to feel wet as the cloud cracked with miniature thunder. His eyebrows lowered, completing the scene, as his cloths began to darken from the small cloud's rain. Shikamaru, he bellowed. Detention after class. A grin appeared on Shikamaru's face. Itachi's jutsu weren't all bad. Itachi picked up a tender piece of meat with the golden chopsticks. He placed the gently glazed beef into his mouth. He chewed the meat as a sound of tasteful pleasure escaped his lips. He enjoyed the food like he's never enjoyed food before. Across from him, Kisame was doing the same. Kisame opened his mouth as the wonderful meat entered it. He chewed softly before swallowing it. He tilted his head back and closed his eyes. He felt something hit his tongue, signifying him to tilt his head forward. He was enjoying the wonderful grape. Gaara's eyes stared at the list in front of him. When Itachi had said they were going to eat like royalty, he was expecting hamburgers. Damn it. What kind of place doesn't have the great combination of bread, beef, lettuce, ketchup, tomatoes, and all of those good things? Gaara took one last look at the menu before his attention turned to Itachi. Itachi, give me some money. I want to eat somewhere else. Sure, kid. Do whatever you want. Itachi tossed a roll of money to Gaara, who promptly walked out of the newly dubbed 6-star restaurant. Gaara scanned the area looking for a place to eat hamburgers. He spotted one and entered. He went up to the counter. Hello, I'd like the jumbo adults. 3 meats hamburger, everything on it. I'd like a jumbo adults French fries with extra salt and pepper. I'd like the super jumbo adult strawberry smoothie with chocolate sprinkles. I'd like the super tremendous adult vanilla ice cream. That will be all. Do you have the money for that? Asked the employee skeptically. Is this enough? Gaara handed the money Itachi gave him to the cashier. That's exactly enough, the man said with money signs in his eyes. For here or to go? Here. Gaara walked to a seat and sat. Itachi bit into the best salad he has ever had. This so good, moaned Itachi in great pleasure. I hope Gaara is having something good too. Gaara bit into the hamburger and sighed in satisfaction. Though not 6-star, it was tasty. Indeed, it was a 6-star restaurant Itachi ate at. Hey Kisame, why do you think Gaara didn't like the food? I'm busy. Gaara was a quick eater. He became this way because he always ate the food his father gave him. He hated the food he got from his father with a passion. Every day, morning, noon, and night, he was given the ugly golden brown meat with the pink interior. He got the horrible salads with the horrible seasoning made by the tasteless 5-star chefs, though he liked the pepper. Now you know one of the many reasons why he hated his father. Naruto jumped down in front of Suzume's house. Akumu jumped from the trees and landed in front of Naruto. So what do we do now? Asked Akumu. We should probably practice canceling Jinjutsu, answered Naruto. And how do we do that? Asked Akumu. We can't do it on each other. And I refuse to do my jutsu on you. Okay, we'll find and ask Haku to do some. Naruto jumped in the trees to find Haku. Akumu followed. Zabuza, Suzume, and Haku were all planning on what to do with the Jinjutsu mission. They were hidden in an illusion, so they wouldn't be found. They knew they were being harsh, but it was the best way to train the two kids. So far their plans were to take them to a different island and put the Jinjutsu around them. The trip to the island was a long one, so they'd knock them out when they regroup. They'd use about to get there. Then early in the morning, they would begin the training. Itachi and Kisame were running towards their destination. They were all smiling about the food they ate, including the most satisfied Gaara. Naruto and Akumu had never found Haku until now. They all stood in the house, preparing for the mission. "So what do we do?" asked Naruto. "Ask the questions after I'm through talking. You will start tomorrow. After this briefing, you will fall asleep. Now, first things first. You will be placed on an island 3 kilometers from here." Suzume paused, giving Naruto and Akumu time to gap. The island is a large one. The object of the mission is to reunite. "Wait, you're going to separate us?" asked and yelled Naruto. "Yes. Now, I will inform you of some of the things you'll see. The main thing is trying to tell the real from the fake. There will be ninjutsu and jinjutsu attacks on you. The jinjutsu on the island have many different effects. For example, a tree may feel, taste, smell, sound, and look like a tree, but it might be fake. Those are easy to break. Others may seem real, but you know they're not. Those are hard to cancel and will annoy you. Those are medium ranked. Easy ranked ones are noticeable and easy to break. Hard is hard to notice and hard to break. There is one super hard. It will be near impossible to notice. That one cannot be broken with the Kai Jutsu. The jutsu must broken with the combinations of both your minds. Haku do it. Haku began doing hand seals as the Naruto brothers were processing the information. They dropped to the floor asleep. They never got to ask questions. Naruto opened his eyes to see a new place. A jungle before him and an ocean behind him. He didn't know if they were real, but it was going to be a challenge either way. Naruto stood up from the sandy beach and began walking into the forest. He turned around when he heard the flapping of a bird's wings. Why did this place scare me so much? Naruto wandered deeper into the forest. Naruto continued to wander as he began to feel as if he was going nowhere. Didn't I just see that puddle? Naruto looked around for evidence of walking in circles. He found nothing. He pumped chakra to his nails, making them grow. He slashed a tree and wandered forward. After 20 minutes of walk, Naruto stood staring at a claw/tree. "So I am walking in circles." Naruto placed his hand in the seal Suzume taught them. Kai. The area twisted and returned to normal. He guessed that if he walked forward, he wouldn't see the tree again. Naruto walked through the forest as the sound of running water met his ears. Naruto walking into the forest towards the water. Naruto dipped his hands in the river and splashed it on his face. He looked up and saw the clone of himself across the river. "Akumu, I found you. Let's finish this stupid test." Naruto stepped into the water as Akumu turned his head. Akumu smiled at Naruto. Naruto heard water rushing, but he didn't care. He wanted to get out of the creepy forest. He was unprepared for the rushing that was about to hit him. Naruto stepped on the land as the water hit him and washed him away. Akumu had just canceled the jinjutsu that made him walk in circles. He was beginning to get hungry. He had nothing to eat. He heard the sound of water. Water usually meant fish. Fish meant food. He walked towards the sound of the water. He lifted his foot, but found it stuck. He looked at his leg. A vine began to crawl up his foot. What? I didn't even feel that. Jinjutsu. He made the hand seal. Kai. The vine stopped. It began to crawl up his leg. Oh God. What am I going to do? He panicked. Wait. Suzume said something about concentration. Akumu closed his eyes with the seal of Kai. Kai, he whispered. The vine stopped. A light breeze passed by, making ashes of the vine drift away. Akumu came across the river and focused on the fish he saw. His hand darted into the stream to grab the fish. The fish swam past his hand. He let his hand rest in the river so the fishes might get fooled. A fish came by, a big, slow fish. He grabbed it and pulled it from the water. He set a fire going as he placed the dead fish over it. He cooked it over the fire until it was golden brown and delicious. He took a bite out of it to find it just faded in his mouth. He took another bite out of it, only to have it fade again. Damn it, Jinjutsu. Naruto opened his eyes. He heard the splashing of water. He felt the water flowing across his legs. He saw that he was on the beach where the river met the ocean. He sighed and stood up. He walked back into the forest. Naruto came across the scratch tree. He looked at his lengthened nails. He continued to walk as he saw a figure in the distance. As he got closer, he saw it better. Soon he stood face to face with Akumu. Naruto paused. Think something would force them apart again. Akumu dash. Naruto was punched in the face before he could finish the sentence. Naruto dropped to the ground as he looked at his clone. Naruto was kicked in the face by his twin. He flew back a few feet before landing. He looked up. Akumu was gone. Akumu had given up by the third fish. He began to walk through the forest, was in search of his brother or master. He came across a slash tree. The slash was deep, but it didn't look animalistic in any way. Kiera made this. He guessed as he began to search for his brother. He had found a set of tracks that were obviously Naruto's. He followed them to a riverbank. I was just here. He probably got here before me. He paused to think. The tracks stop here. He must have gone in the river. Akumu, someone questioned. Akumu looked up to see Naruto. He smiled and began to walk towards him. I'm glad to see you, Kiera. Akumu stepped onto land in front of Naruto. Naruto smashed his fist into Akumu's face, making him fly into the river. Akumu pushed himself out of the river as he looked at where Naruto had been. Naruto was gone. Naruto was mad, no, furious. The Akumu that had hurt him may have been a fake. He made a promise. The next time he saw the bastard, he'd make sure he disappeared. Naruto felt his leg stop. He pulled on it, but it felt as if it was grabbed by a root. He looked at his leg to see nothing. He pulled on his leg. Something had caught him. Naruto placed his hands in the Kai seal. Kai. He felt the plant wrap around his leg. Kai. He shouted loudly. The plant began to squeeze his leg tightly. He yelped in pain. What is Jinjutsu? Questioned Naruto to himself. It is something that affects the mind. If I can stop it by focusing on something else, then it will go away. Naruto tried to focus on something else, but the pain was too intense. Pain. I need to focus on a different pain. Naruto raised his clawed hand and slashed his other arm. He yelped in pain. Naruto clutched the wound as his leg dropped. He collapsed to the ground. Okay, that was a rash plan, but it worked. Naruto heard the sound of rustling leaves. He looked at a pair of glowing yellow eyes. He watched as a silver-furred wolf came from the bushes. The wolf growled and lunged. Naruto tried to dodge, but the wound on his arm prevented him from making sudden movements. The wolf clawed his already injured arm. Naruto looked cautiously at the wolf. The wolf jumped at Naruto again. Naruto raised his clawed hand and slashed the wolf's face. The wolf yelped and jumped away. If you are fake, then you should be easy to dispel. Naruto placed his hands in a loose construction of the Kai seal. Kai. The wolf didn't falter. Naruto was too injured to protect himself for long. The wolf lunged again as a voice behind him whispered, Kai. Before his very eyes, Naruto saw the wolf fade away. In Jinjutsu, you never yell. You must concentrate on the target, said the person who helped him. Are you really Akumu? Naruto turned to look at the figure that looked very much like himself. Are you really Kiera? Asked Akumu, or whoever it was. Yes, I am. Prove to me that you're Akumu. Naruto stayed crouched. Only if you prove you're Kiera. Naruto was about to lift his shirt when the image of Akumu faded away. Where did that bastard go? Akumu glared as the image of Naruto faded. So it was a fake. Next time, I'll get rid of him. He ran off, not noticing that he left no trace. Akumu stopped at a field. He looked around as a pack of wolves entered his field of vision. He placed his hands in the seal and whispered, Kai. The wolves stood still, then attacked. Akumu dodged the first wolf, but felt a gash on his back. He refused to yell, because that might give the enemy clone his location. Suzume sat on a lawn chair, drinking lemonade. Next to her was Zabuza and Haku, who were doing the same. To her, it was only noon, but she knew that with Naruto and Akumu, it was nearing dusk. She took a long sip of her drink. Naruto's leg had stopped hurting, allowing him to walk normally. His arm was close to being healed, but not there yet. He was wandering through forest trying to find Akumu or destroy the evil clone. He felt a vine latch onto his leg. Kai, he whispered, taking the evil clone's advice. The vine disappeared, making him happy. He heard a yelp off in the distance. He took to the trees to find out what his was. He stopped when he saw Akumu, or the evil clone, bleeding from the pack of bloodthirsty wolves. I don't care if he's evil. No one deserves to be hurt like that. Naruto jumped from the tree as chakra began to glow on his body. He landed in front of the clone as a wolf was about to strike. Katen. Naruto began to spin as a chakra barrier was placed between him and his clone from the wolves. A wolf slammed into the shield, sending it flying back into the bushes. Are you Akumu? Yes. I can prove it. Akumu lifted his shirt, revealing the seal of Kyuubi. Okay. Naruto lifted his shirt, revealing the same seal. I have it too. They turned as another Naruto appeared. Hey, which of you are real? We both are. Both Naruto and Akumu responded. Their nails grow as they charged the evil clone. Once they were close, the clone began to spin. Kaiten, Naruto, and Akumu were thrown back. I'm the real Naruto. Look, the clone lifted his shirt, revealing the same seal. Which of you are real? Akumu was having a mental breakdown. I am. Both Narutos responded. One of you isn't real. I will prove it. Akumu sat down and closed his eyes. Is he going to see Kyuubi? Asked the Narutos to each other. I think so, they both answered. Well, perfect, it's just you and me now. One of the Narutos began hand seals. I will beat you, imposter. The other Naruto lunged with his clawed hands. Bye, Akumu Muir. Naruto fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Akumu looked at Kyuubi. I want you to be able to tell me which Naruto is the real one. No, I will not help you. I will continue to make the connection so you can speak telepathically, but nothing else. Bastard, responded Akumu. Ahhhhhhhh, came a blood-curdling scream. Naruto. Akumu ran out of the room and searched for Naruto. He must have been captured by the clone, and something happened. Kyuubi grinned. Perfect, he purred. The evil clone smiled at the screaming Naruto. Well, more of a smirk, but still. The limp Akumu rose from the ground and glared at the clone. Bastard. Akumu Muir. The clone turned to Akumu. Foolish Akumu. I am a Jinjutsu, thus I can't be fooled like that. I am the highest-ranked Jinjutsu in the forest. I am what you need to break before you can escape the Jinjutsu jungle. But only with the combined efforts of both you and Naruto could you defeat me. Too bad for you. I found a loophole. As long as I have chakra, which feeds from the chakra in the forest, I can keep Naruto in his nightmare world. The clone turned to Naruto and laughed. With Naruto up for the count, I can't be broken. I will kill you. Then I will have the forest to myself. I won't let you. Akumu attacked the clone. The clone sidestepped and kneed Akumu in the stomach. Fool, I have the abilities of both you and Naruto. I won't lose to you. Naruto's screaming stopped. Look, your master is unconscious. A while. Fine, I'll get Naruto out of it then. Akumu scurried to Naruto's side and placed his hand in a seal. Sorry, brat, but no. The evil clone kicked Akumu away. Akumu flinched, the wounds not yet healed. The clone stepped on Naruto as he began doing seals. Akumu Muir. Akumu yelped and fell limp. What a bunch of weaklings. The clone's nails grow into claws. While, fun's over, time to end it. The clone thrusted hand at Naruto's throat. Blood spilled on the ground as the sun's rays left. The dark world was greeted by an agonizing scream. A pair of glowing red eyes locked with terrified blue ones. You thought you could take the life of my vessel? Well, it doesn't matter. I can roam free now. Sadly, if I kill you, then Naruto and Akumu wake up. So I will let you go, if you promise to keep the Jinjutsu on the two. The evil clone, though it seems innocent compared to Kyuubi, nodded as he was dropped to the ground. Itachi was currently getting his book published. His birthday was only a few days earlier. 11 days, to be precise. He walked out of the store, knowing it was going to be one of the best. He met up with Kisame and Gaara. By Kisame's calculations, they'd reach the area by morning. Sasori led the newly recruited Deidara to the Akatsuki base. Okay, to open the Jinjutsu door, you must use the ring you'll get from leader. See, Sasori showed Deidara his ring like a cheerleader would to her preppy friends. Yeah, replied Deidara. Good, now follow me to the leader. The leader stopped his scribbling as he sighed. Sasori walked through the Jinjutsu hidden door with Deidara at his side. See, you can't get anywhere without the ring. Hello, Sasori. Is that the new recruit? Asked the leader with his multi-voice. Yes, leader, answered Sasori. That's awesome, yelled Deidara. I wish I could do that, yeah. Really? Asked the leader. Yeah. I could teach you, offered the leader. I want to learn too, pouted Sasori. Then I teach both of you. This is what you do. Kyuubi was a happy fox. He got to eat rabbits, wolves, birds. Though he was getting bored. With 2 bodies to explore the little island, he had located and memorized every twig on the ground. Time to leave, he decided. He reached the ocean and walked onto it. The darkness on the island was replaced with brightness. Kyuubi's pupils became slitted. What do I do now? Sabotage Kiri. Sounds good to me. Kyuubi crouched on as 4, making an animalistic appearance. His other body jumped down next to him. They began to run towards Kiri with tremendous speeds. Suzume noticed the Jinjutsu shield faultier. Damn birds, she commented as she took a sip of her lemonade. The now semi-evil clone rested on the ground shaking. Damn, he's scary, but as long as I keep the Jinjutsu on the 2, then I won't get mauled. Well, at least he's evil, not prissy. Kyuubi, in both bodies, had caught sight of Kiri and were picking up speed. With a powerful jump, he landed on the shore. The 2 bodies split up as blood began to shower the ground. Naruto screamed a scream that hurt his throat. The Hokage, Iruka, Haku, Zabuza, Suzume, and his idol the Yondaime were doing things worse than all the other villagers had done. Multiple times had he tried to break the Jinjutsu, only to get stabbed, breaking his concentration. He screamed again as the feared Kyuubi rose behind the 3 and started laughing as Naruto cried in a pool of his own blood. Soon he stopped crying and just curled up into the fetal position, soulless. Kyuubi jumped on a building and let out a loud roar. The village of Kiri was in shambles. Within the span of 10 minutes, a 4-tailed Kyuubi controlled Naruto, and a 5-tailed Kyuubi controlled Naruto had made the village rain blood. Only a fourth of the population was alive. They had all run. Kyuubi was satisfied. He had the whole village to himself. Sure, it would rebuild quick enough, the Mizukage being alive still, but he had never cared for the future. It was only ever now, not back then, or it will be, nope, just now. He chewed happily on a bloody bone. This has to be the best day I've had for the past 8 years. I feel something off. Do you, Zabuza? Asked Haku as he set his lemonade on a rock sticking out of the ocean. Yes, I do. Do you think so, Suzume? Asked Zabuza, who threw the glass over his shoulder. With a splash, the glass sunk into the ocean. Maybe. I'll search the main clone's mind. Suzume flashed through some seals. She gasped. Damn it. The clone went too far. He trapped both Naruto and Akumu in a Jinjutsu. That's bad. Why? Asked Zabuza. He made the boys enter their minds. Yeah, so? Asked Haku. That means Kyuubi was free to take control. What? Yelled Zabuza. What do we do to stop it? Cancel all the Jinjutsu, so the clone dies. With the clone dead, Naruto and Akumu can escape out of the Jinjutsu. Then let's do that now. Zabuza began to do seals. The Jinjutsu is breaking down now, but that's not the problem, Suzume explained. We don't know how long Naruto's under the effects of the jutsu. He may have lost the will to gain control. If he has bad enough thoughts, then that may happen. What kinds of thoughts could he have? He's only 7, asked Haku. Since he's the Kyuubi vessel, pretty bad, answered Suzume gravely. So then how else do we stop the Kyuubi's control? Asked Zabuza, worried. Not for Naruto as much as the world. If we knew where he was, we might be able to do something. I don't think Kyuubi would, but too much energy in the bodies, it might break down the muscles. But he might not care. We need to find him now, yelled Zabuza. The lawn chairs, which weren't being laid on, sunk into the ocean. Yes, but it will be hard. Kyuubi is unpredictable and powerful. If we were there at the beginning, it would be easier. We need more people if we're going to find him and place him back in the seal, suggested Suzume. Okay, but we don't know many people who would help. Haku's voice quivered with worry and fright. I know. I will personally aim to find Kyuubi. Zabuza, you search for the person who got you to train Naruto. Haku, you need to search for information on where Kyuubi was last located. Don't say Kyuubi. Say a boy with a hell load of power and bloodthirst. Suzume pulled out a scroll and opened it. Take these communicators. If you get any information, report it to the group immediately. I'm head for the nearest village. Hi. Both Haku and Zabuza left ninja style. Begin Chapter 5, Destruction and Meetings. Suzume ran past the small island bordering Kiri. The closest village was indeed Kiri. She was making good time, but good or not, it was need to be reserved. She slowed to a walk as her sandals touched the sand. Kiri was one of the few villages without a gate, since it was surrounded by water. She rounded the corner of the first build. She witnessed something she hadn't seen for 7 years. Blood, massive amounts of blood. Wet, dry, and drying blood littered the ground. Bones were scattered on the ground. No meat, though, not even the slightest hint of flesh of muscle. She saw a flash, then it was gone. Another, gone in an instant. She knew the flashes were Kyuubi, but she had nothing she could do. She lifted her communicator to her ear. "Come in, Haku." "Yes?" crackled the headset. "I have stopped Kyuubi's last location. He was at Kiri." "The place is in shambles," answered Suzum. "Should I warn the next village of the danger?" "Pointless. Kyuubi isn't after a village's destruction. He's after the lives of people. He will hunt them down." "Then what should I do?" "Stay in the shadows." "Got it." Suzum kept the communicator on, but waited to inform Zabuza. She began to search for any way of tracking Kyuubi. Kyuubi ran through the green and brown blurred forest. He knew that the Jinjutsu on the two body owners had been released, but he also knew they had little will to gain back the body. Besides, he was in control. He had the wisdom of a 1,000-year-old sly fox. He could set a new Jinjutsu up in an instant. Kiri is done. Next rain, then waterfall, stone, lightning, sand. He smiled. Finally leaf. Zabuza was pumping extra amounts of chakra to speed up. He needed to find the kid so they could help Naruto. He had gone to the main land, since it would be most likely that they were there. He had one thing that was bugging him. He picked up the communicator and flipped a switch. "Suzum," he began. "How long do you think Kyuubi will be in control?" The headset crackled. "I don't know. Focus on finding the boy. Use everything you can to find his location." "Understood." Zabuza continued to run as he began to worry. Itachi heard the rustling of leaves to his right. He tilted his head to get a better look. He saw a blur passing him. With his Sharingan, he had caught the image of Zabuza. "Who was that?" asked Kisame. "Zabuza," answered Itachi. "Shouldn't we follow him?" asked Gaara. "He is the person we're looking for." "I think we should rest here." Itachi loosened his knees and sat to the floor. "Itachi, he is the person we're looking for. Are you okay?" Kisame looked at his partner in slight concern. "No." "Why?" Itachi didn't answer as a loud scream answered for him. "What was that?" asked Gaara without revealing emotions. Itachi again chose not to answer the question as a clone of him came into view. "Let me go," shouted Zabuza. "Calm down," Itachi said calmly. "You're in safe hands." "Huh? Wait. You're the brat who got me to teach Naruto, right?" Zabuza pointed an accusing finger at Itachi. "Indeed I am. Why were you in such a hurry?" "Look, I need your help. Naruto's been taken control by Kyuubi. We need as many hand as we can get." Zabuza stood up, though his ankle was still being held by Itachi's clone. "Tell me all the details. How it happened, where he was last seen, when it was, and why he can't escape." Itachi had become very serious. You could tell because his clone disappeared, so Zabuza was standing funny. "We were testing them in a Jinjutsu test. He got placed under a Jinjutsu by the main Jinjutsu. Kyuubi took control. Naruto's probably emotionally destroyed. It happened about 2 to 10 hours ago. I don't know where he was last located." "Understood." Kage Bunshin. 8 Itachis appeared. Clones 1 through 5, search for Naruto. Clones 6 through 9, search for Sasori to get help. If you can, get other members. The clones sped away. "How much could he do in 10 to 2 hours?" asked Gaara ignorant. "Kyuubi destroyed a quarter of our military and the southern gates of Konoha, the strongest ninja village at the time, within a span of 10 minutes. "Oh fuck," responded Kisame. "Indeed. Kisame, you come with me." Gaara go with Zabuza. Itachi and Kisame disappeared before Zabuza had time to protest. "I hope you're fast, kid, or you're getting left behind." The joy of hands. Kyuubi had split between 9 bodies now. Since he healed in a blink of an eye, they were all real. He was now destroying rain as if it were a fly in the winter with its wings cut off. With 9 separate, he could cause 9 times the havoc. A building on the horizon blow up, but he was currently too focused on the leader of rain. "I won't let you destroy our village without a fight. Aim no doku." "Fool," announced Kyuubi as the rain began to hit him. "You think your worthless poisons will hurt me?" Kyuubi gathered chakra to his hands. A red chakra claw flew from his hand and wrist. The Amikage jumped back as the claw neared. The Amikage began hand seals. He felt something grab hold of him. He looked down and saw the red chakra. The ground began to rise as Kyuubi snapped his hand back. The Amikage flew towards Kyuubi as all he could was watch. Kyuubi's fist collided with the poor man. The Kage flew back as another Kyuubi jumped to him. The first Kyuubi made a low, but long, leap and spun. The second Kyuubi snapped out his legs and smashed them in the face of the Kage. The Kage slammed head first into the ground. The spinning Kyuubi grabbed the outstretched legs and began spinning them both. The Kage was released, allowing him to fly into a building. Kyuubi smiled. Clean up time. All the Kyuubis scattered to feast on the flesh of their victims. Well, more their meat and muscle, but never leave any, as he always said. A bloody rain ninja crawled from his village. His whole right leg had a deep slash down it, and his shoulder had been stabbed. He was determined to inform Konoha of the slaughter. Haku was searching for any trace of Kyuubi. He was on the border of rain. He was shivering. The rain was beating down on him. Though, that wasn't the reason. He was afraid. He had heard legends of the great Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most feared demon that walks the earth. The legends weren't pretty. If the legend were true, then it would be easy for Kyuubi to slaughter a small village in under 10 minutes. It would be so much easier in 2 bodies. Haku saw smoke in the distance. He began to run to it with all his speed. After learning today's lessons on how to make your voice be multiplied, the leader said that Sasori and Deidara would be partners. He nearly hugged Deidara, but restrained himself. So this is what brought them to flying over the world's forests on a giant clay bird. This is my ability. I can feed a special clay into the mouth on my hands, then make clay sculptures. I mainly make bird, since they can fly, explained Deidara. Wow, this is so cool. Seeing everything from a bird's eye view. I wonder where we can go. Sasori stared off the edge of the bird. Anywhere really. So what is your specialty? Puppets. I can make puppets out of humans, given enough time, answered Sasori. Can we go to a village and spy on them? I would be so much fun. Where might that be? Suna. I have a friend who did a mission for me there. Okay. If Itachi knew Kyuubi in the slightest, it would mean he was head to Konoha, maybe stopping for other villages, but we'll get to Konoha by tomorrow. He and Kisame were going to run straight there, no stopping, not even for water. All 9 Kyuubis gathered on the roof of the Amikage Tower, each gnawing on a bone. Kyuubi had decided he needed to let the weak body rest. He wouldn't sleep, just not more. Kyuubi didn't need sleep, Naruto did. The body, though, still was not strong enough to take down more than it already has. So now he sat on the roof, still, waiting. Itachi stood at the edge of Konoha village. He had summoned another batch of clone to guard the west and east walls of Konoha. Kisame and his clones guarded the north and south sides. The 2 waited for the arrival of Kyuubi. Kyuubi stood up and decided, who gives a damn about the weakling villages? Only Konoha matters to me. All the Kyuubi-controlled clones stood up and dashed away. 2 went in other directions. Haku balanced on a tree, looking at the destroyed rain village. He was horrified at the sight. He turned on his communicator and spoke. Come in, Suzume. Yes. Have you found the Kyuubi's location? Crackled a voice. Yes, he's near. Haku paused and turned around. He stared in the eyes of a demon. Where is he located? Agag. Haku screamed and turned around to run. He came face to face with another Kyuubi. Pathetic fool. Kyuubi slammed his hand into Haku's face. Haku crashed to the ground. Time to regroup. Kyuubi then left. Haku. Haku, are you okay? The communicator crackled as blood seeped from his head. Suzume began doing the process to find out where the last message was located. Rain, she sighed in relief. Not too far from here. She began to run to the rain village. Hey, what's that? Sasori pointed down to the ground. Let me see. The bird stopped and fluttered in the air. Deidara peered over the edge of his bird. He saw 7 red dots jumping on top of the trees. The dots left a red streak behind them. Then only about 500 yards back were 2 other red dots. People, maybe? People don't glow red. Only demons do that, pointed out Sasori. Okay, demon-possessed people? Asked Deidara. Possibly. Want to check it out? Sure. Though my bird won't be able to catch up, I might be able to follow them. Good. Follow the ones trailing the others. It would be easier. The bird dived to the trees and followed the red dots. Zabuza hated the boy. He didn't even have the name of the boy to cuss out. He was now stuck with another kid that the boy demanded him to take care of. He really wanted to help, but then again, the boy was stronger than him. He really hated it. He had tried contacting Suzume, only to find she didn't answer. The same with Haku. He was very worried about all of them. Suzum found Haku laying on the ground, bleeding badly. She had found a faint heartbeat, but he was close to death. With all that aside, she didn't even know if his brain was damaged or not. She was currently doing multiple healing and scanning jutsu to fix any problems that has or might occur. She had now stopped the bleeding, but came to a bad conclusion. He's lost a lot of blood. I need to give him a pill, but I don't have any. Damn it. I need to stay here or he might die. I can only hope in Zabuza and Naruto. She picked out her communicator and readjusted it to talk to Zabuza. Hello, Zabuza? Finally, I was getting worried, crackled the communicator. Yes, there is a lot to worry about. Have you found Itachi yet? Yes, he was with 2 others. He left me with a kid he was training. Last I saw, he was headed south, towards Konoha, answered Zabuza. Good. Look, I need your help. Haku has been fatally injured. I have healed him enough to last, but he could die any minute. I need you to come to the border of rain, quickly. Suzum's voice shook a little. I understand. I'll be right over. Thanks. Kyubi saw some people guarding the village he planned to ruin. All 7 bodies of himself began to attack the people. Though some did disappear, most dodged and began to fight back. Kyubi smirked and continued to fight. Itachi and about 20 clones were fighting against 7 Kyubis. At first he was surprised to see so many, but realized it was a super Kage Bunshin. He sent 10 other clone to inform Kisame. He released the rest, since they took a lot of chakra. He dodged a punch and kicked a Kyubi. Damn it, he muttered. I don't want to kill him. I can identify which is which. A blue blur took down a Kyubi without even touching it. If I recall, Zabuza said them when he should have referred Naruto as him. We don't know which has Naruto's chakra, unless we steal away all the demonic chakra from them. But your Samahata can only handle so much. Itachi did a roundhouse kick to a Kyubi's face. That is true, but you might want to look at the Kyubis. Itachi looked at the Kyubis while holding them back. Same, say different. That one has the tails of chakra. I understand now. Itachi rushed past all the Kyubis and kicked the 2-tailed Kyubi, or tried. His foot was grabbed. He was thrown to a tree with a loud crack. I see you noticed, but don't charge it to a fight so easily. It would be smarter to take down the 1-tails. Kisame swung his Samahata at an approaching Kyubi. Itachi activated his Sharingan and saw that right before the deadly sword hit the Kyubi, the chakra flooded to another Kyubi. Itachi focused on the color of the Kyubi's chakra and saw bits of blue in both of the 2 tails. Kisame, he started as he got up. The two tails are the real ones. All the others are Kyubi-made clones. Got it. What is the plan? Force all the chakra to those 2, then do a seal. Got it. Suzum saw Zabuza with a kid behind him. She was relieved to see them. Twice had she saved Haku from the brink of death. Today, of course. Zabuza, good to see you. Please, take care of Haku. He is very faulty as of now. You should probably take him to a hospital. Okay. Zabuza with Gaara and Haku left north, while Suzum ran to the south. They were all tired, minus Gaara and Haku, because they had all stayed up all night. What's going on? Asked Gaara for the first time speaking. Naruto has been taken control over by the demon in him, the Kyubi, answered Zabuza. Oh, can he sleep? Asked Gaara, relating Naruto to himself. Yes, why? I have a demon too, and I can't sleep. Itachi said I will when he gets absorbed by the seal he placed on me. What demon do you have? And why do you have it? Asked Zabuza. Shikaku, Itachi calls him Ichibi. My father put him in me, so I would be the village's weapon. Zabuza laughed. So much for that plan. You ran away. Gaara smiled as well and became more comfortable with Zabuza. Itachi and Kisame had forcefully made 4 of the Kyubis disappear. 3 remained, each with 2 tails. He had mathematically figured that there were 2 more Kyubis, since 7 doesn't equal 9. He was indeed right when 2 more Kyubis sprung out. One with 2 tails, the other with 1. They quickly made the other 1 tail disappear, making one of the real bodies gain 3 tails. What amazed them the most was that the dead clones didn't disappear, like they should. They dropped to the ground as if they were real. Itachi had to burn the bodies, since on some occasions it got chakra to be pumped into it, and was resurrected or became a puppet. Itachi saw a light brown blur dive towards the group of 4 Kyubis. It exploded, taking the life of 1 Kyubi. Now, there were 3 tails to fight. A giant bird landed on the ground. Itachi saw out of the corner of his eye. It was Sasori. "Hello, Sasori. Have you come to help us?" asked Itachi as he tried to dodge a Kyuubi, but failed. "No." Sasori caught Itachi, who was thrown back. "We came here to find out what the red dots were. You seem to know. They are Naruto and a clone of his, which seems to be real, possessed by Kyuubi. One is a fake, made by Kyuubi," answered Itachi as he tried to take down another Kyuubi, but failed. "I'll make you a deal. I help you, but I make the fake, yet real if I know the principles of the Kage Bunshin, my puppet." Itachi found now problem. Deal. Good, which is fake? The one to the right. Itachi jumped over and caught Kisame. "Deidara, I need to poison the clone, but I won't be able to get close. Am I able to inject the poison at one of your bird which could bit him?" asked Sasori. "Yeah." Deidara made a small bird, which Sasori took. Sasori took out a needle from his pocket and poked it in the bird. "I will control it." Deidara answered the unasked question. The bird fluttered up and flew to the clone. The clone Kyuubi backhanded the bird, making it explode. The explosion made him bleed, but it soon healed. The fake was about to attack Sasori when it stopped and fell to the ground limp, but awake. "Come back to that." Sasori summoned a puppet. "Hey, Itachi, what should I do with them?" "I need you to stale them."